The scalpel precisely cut open the man's chest cavity. But the expected blood did not gush out. Inside that body, which looked completely normal, there was nothing at all. There was only a completely naked woman curled up inside. The air 300 years later really is fresh. Although this old woman and the young one had cut out plenty of people's organs before, this was the first time they had ever seen such a horrifying scene. The old woman never could have imagined it. She had only used a bottle of drink to drug an unsuspecting passerby. She had wanted to casually harvest the other person's organs. But instead, it led to a massive disaster spanning 300 years. Under the terrified gaze of the two, the woman suddenly revealed a bizarre smile. She raised her hand and plucked out one of her black hairs. She murmured something under her breath, then gently blew it out. In the next second, the young grandson's body began trembling violently. In just a brief instant, he transformed into the appearance of a one-eyed monster, and his grandmother was stunned on the spot. But before she could recover, her own body also began to mutate, and her red-faced, fang-bearded appearance was no better than her grandson's. Very good. You are quite suitable. This is the reward I grant you. From now on, you are my servants. But the woman's actions were far from over, because she knew that the man lying on the bed was not dead yet. Sure enough, the wound on the man's chest began to wriggle on its own. Then, little by little, it stitched itself back together. But just as the woman was about to transform him into a monster as well, the man's eyes suddenly burst with a blinding light. The woman had no time to react before the man sprang up and bit off one of her fingers. But there was not the slightest trace of pain on the woman's face. Instead, she showed a hint of surprise at the man's healing ability. In the next second, another heavy punch came crashing over. The woman was sent flying away by that punch without any suspense. But just as the man was about to pursue her, his fist was tightly bound by suddenly emerging tentacles. Immediately afterward, even more tentacles swarmed in and pierced straight into all of his ribs without missing a single one. The man simply could not understand why a Hong Kong old woman would use moves like a nine-tailed fox. But clearly, the wrestling monster that pounced right after gave him no time to think. The violent punches beat him so hard that he had no chance to fight back at all. The man could only endure the opponent's fierce assault blow after blow. It was not until the woman finally spoke and ordered it to stop that the battle temporarily came to a halt beneath that monster's huge foot. What a pity. If we were on the same side, how wonderful that would be. It was obvious that the man's attack just now had been useless against the woman. Her thick black hair, as if alive, protected every inch of her skin from head to toe. And at this moment, the man was more like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered, tightly bound and unable to escape at all. Then, a clump of thick black hair suddenly drilled into the man's mouth. After turning around inside his abdomen for a while, it finally brought out a dazzling, shining pearl. And this was the real reason the woman did not kill him, a pearl belonging to Miak Jisoo. Legend says that on the peninsula 300 years ago, a war once broke out there between humans and monsters. Under the shroud of demonic power, humanity suffered devastating casualties. It was not until that man appeared that hope for humankind finally arrived. People called him Miak Jisoo. It was he who swallowed all the monsters of that era into his own body. Only then was that war completely brought to an end. And now, this power would follow Miak Jisoo's pearl and be swallowed into the woman's stomach as well. She could even taste the flavor of the monsters that had once been devoured. Meanwhile, as the man kept losing his power, his life also quickly approached its end. But even so, he still did not give up, because he still had one last chance left. The man held his breath, desperately squeezing out the very last bit of strength from his body, then forcibly concentrated all of it at his anus. In the next second, accompanied by a roar so loud it almost split heaven and earth, a frail old man was blasted into the air just like that. After a huge hole was blasted through the roof, he disappeared from everyone's sight. Because she knew very well that although this old-fashioned method was ugly, they truly could not catch up to him. In a corner of the park at night, a group of boys were celebrating a companion's birthday. They had even prepared cake, and not just one, but 100 of them. Goyang was being forced to eat every single one without leaving any behind. It was obvious that Goyang was being bullied, but for the physically weak Goyang, he had long since grown used to this sort of thing. But the one thing Goyang could not understand was why Kong Jongbo had become like this. Come to think of it, this bastard named Kong Jongbo had actually once been Goyang's best friend. They had grown up in the same neighborhood. They played together every day and went to school together. But ever since they entered high school, everything had started to change. Kong Jongbo suddenly became a bully at school. He also became the starting point of Goyang's nightmare. So now Goyang could only obediently go along with Kong Jongbo's teasing, not caring to make him even slightly unhappy, or else another brutal beating would be waiting for him. Fortunately, a text message interrupted everything in time, finally giving Goyang a brief chance to breathe. It turned out that his friends had a meal gathering to attend, so they had no choice but to leave early. But Goyang had still guessed wrong, because this only meant he had even less time to eat the cake. Now you only have 5 minutes left, so hurry up. Not long after, Goyang could no longer suppress the churning in his stomach, and vomited out everything that had just been forcibly stuffed into him. Now that he thought about it, Kong Jongbo seemed to use food to torment Goyang every single time. But even stranger was that Goyang's weight had never increased. At the same time, a weak wail sounded by Goyang's ear. Following the sound, Goyang walked into the alley. There he saw a weak homeless old man collapsed on the ground, already on the verge of death. In a panic, Goyang immediately pulled out his phone and prepared to call for help. But at that moment, the old man muttered, "Hell demon has awakened. She will open the gate of hell that leads to hell and release all the monsters inside into this world." As soon as he heard that, Goyang was speechless. He even began considering whether he should just contact a psychiatric hospital for the old man instead. But before Goyang could do anything, the old man grabbed Goyang's hand first. Then, trembling all over, he stood up. And then, in an extremely rude move, he forcibly pried open Goyang's mouth. But not even Goyang himself had expected that his mouth could open to such an outrageous extent. Even more absurdly, that old man actually crawled right in. Goyang was completely dumbstruck. He simply could not believe that a person had really climbed into his stomach. But before Goyang could recover from the shock, a familiar voice came over once again. It was actually the drunken Kong Jongbo, who had come back again. It turned out he had not had enough fun yet and still wanted Goyang to continue performing by drinking alcohol. Did you see that old grandpa just now? At this point, Goyang no longer cared about bullying or not bullying. He only wanted to confirm whether what had just happened was real. Faced with Goyang's question, Kong Jongbo only found it baffling. But just then, Goyang's mouth suddenly moved out of control and clamped over Kong Jongbo's head in one bite. Fortunately, Kong Jongbo reacted fast enough, and violently yanked his head back out. In a panic, Goyang hurriedly explained that he really had not done it himself. But unexpectedly, Kong Jongbo said with a terrified expression, "You're actually Miyok-ji Saw?" Hearing those words, Goyang was completely stunned. "What Miyok-ji Saw? What are you talking about?" At this, Kong Jongbo's face was full of disbelief. "You really don't know what Miyok-ji Saw is?" After getting Goyang's firm answer, the panic on Kong Jongbo's face quickly disappeared, and immediately afterward, he kicked straight at Goyang's face. That force was astonishingly great, as if he simply did not care whether Goyang would be kicked to death on the spot. It was not until Goyang saw Kong Jongbo's face begin to wriggle bizarrely that Goyang realized something was wrong. Kong Jongbo's head had already turned into the monstrous appearance of a dog's head. Along with it came strength so terrifying it was absurd. Goyang was kicked flying several meters by that single blow. After his body slammed into a tree trunk, he spat out a huge mouthful of blood on the spot. It was obvious that the current Kong Jongbo was already more like a monster, and the power he displayed definitely did not belong to a human. In excruciating pain, Goyang felt he was about to die. Looking at that wooden stake raised high in the air, he fell into utter despair. Along with one dull smashing sound after another, the broken section of the tree trunk was being hammered flatter and flatter. But what even Goyang himself had not noticed was that aside from the small scrape on his cheek, not another drop of blood was flowing from his body. Compared with the damage to his flesh, the shock to his mind was even more severe. Feeling those fangs drawing nearer and nearer, Goyang increasingly felt that all of this was like a nightmare. In reality, he was bullied, and even in a nightmare, he could only continue being that same person who got picked on. "What are you doing? Attack that monster, now!" A strange voice suddenly rang out in Goyang's mind. But Goyang simply did not know how he was supposed to face a situation like this, because every time he had been bullied in the past, all he could do was endure it. As long as he survived it and let time slowly pass, everything would always come to an end. But if you keep enduring, all that will come is death. The moment you run, you only become prey. "Throw your punch now. You are Miyok-ji Saw." The voice in his mind kept forcing Goyang onward. Goyang, who had already lost all hope, somehow moved this time as if possessed, truly following that voice. In the next second, a violent explosion rang out beside Goyang's ear, and Kong Jongbo's entire left arm was blown off by a single punch from him. Goyang stared in disbelief at the huge gap before him. But the screams constantly echoing in his ears told him that all of this was real. This time, it was Kong Jongbo's turn to be afraid. "Didn't you say you didn't know anything, you brat? Kill him now. Don't give him time to recover." The urging voice in his mind sounded again. Goyang's face was expressionless, and his eyes stared blankly. Yet it was precisely the look that made Kong Jongbo's back turn cold. He quickly waved his hands and said to wait, saying that he had only been joking just now, and kept repeating, "Aren't we friends?" But it was precisely those words that completely ignited Goyang. A punch that looked plain and unremarkable smashed into Kong Jongbo with a force that nearly crushed everything, and the monster that had lost its human shape finally completely revealed its original form. Unfortunately, what awaited it was Goyong's mouth, which had long since opened wide. Only after the monster was completely bitten apart and chewed to pieces by Goyong's teeth did everything finally calm down. Everything had happened too fast. From that bizarre old man just now, to Kong Jongbo now leaving behind only a pile of torn clothes. How could any of this possibly be real? Of course this isn't a dream. All of this is real. That strange voice sounded again. But this time, the voice no longer came from inside his mind, but from Goyong's abdomen. Now Goyong really was about to go crazy, because the old man's head had emerged from his stomach. My name is Hong Guangyu. I am Miak Gwi, a monster hunter who specializes in pursuing monsters. I don't have much time left, so you must listen carefully. Only then did Goyong learn that Kong Jongbo had actually long since been possessed by a monster, and the monsters that had originally lived in hell were now appearing one after another in the human world and beginning to eat people. There were two ways they ate people. One was to eat flesh, directly tearing into and devouring human bodies. And the other was to eat souls, sustaining themselves by feeding on human fear. But even these monsters had their own natural enemy, and that was Miak Ji-sa, which specialized in devouring monsters. And now, that person was Goyong. But why me? Goyong asked in confusion. Meeting you is not a coincidence. This is destiny's arrangement, just like it was for me 300 years ago. Goyong's experience was exactly the same as his had been back then. This was a cruel fate, and you must stop the messenger of hell. After saying this, the old man disappeared completely. No matter how Goyong shouted, he could get no more answers. Early the next morning, when Goyong walked into the classroom, he still could not help feeling afraid. Because Kong Jongbo's seat remained empty. That meant Goyong had really killed him. Goyong's face was filled with worry. He had no idea how to distinguish those monsters. Nor did he know how he was supposed to shoulder such a heavy fate. But before Goyong could think through these questions, a sudden cramping pain pulled him back to reality once again. Sitting on the toilet, Goyong could not help thinking of Kong Jongbo again. Looking back on it now, everything actually made sense. At the very least, the former Kong Jongbo really had been Goyong's best friend. But killing him was also a fact that had already happened. For a moment, he did not know whether he felt relief or regret. All kinds of emotions crowded Goyong's heart, and tears flowed down uncontrollably. But just then, a faint glow suddenly lit up beneath him. In the next second, the entire toilet stall was swallowed by dazzling golden light. The scene before his eyes gave Goyong an unprecedented shock, because he had actually pulled his best friend back out by force. Just moments ago, the classmates had still been discussing Kong Jongbo's absence. I wonder where that guy Goyong ran off to. And just then, the teacher walked into the classroom, preparing to start class early. But the tall student in the class objected first. Teacher, aren't you early? There are clearly still 3 minutes before class starts. Strange, my watch clearly says it's already time. Never mind, let's begin class first. But unexpectedly, the tall student said with a sneer, this is violating human rights. Please get out. The teacher sighed helplessly. Then I'll come back in 3 minutes. Then he turned around and muttered softly. You bunch of pigheads, do you really know what human rights mean? But unfortunately, the tall student behind him heard that sentence. You actually dare call us pigheads? When the other students saw this, they all took out their phones and started recording. Seeing that the situation was going wrong and afraid the matter would escalate, the teacher could only lower her head and admit fault. But that tall guy still refused to let it go. What I hate most is people apologizing after the fact. Kill him for me. At that moment, a loud explosion suddenly rang out. Outside the classroom window, something seemed to be writhing. It was actually a huge tentacle slowly crawling along the outer wall of the classroom. This has to be fake. Some film crew nearby must be shooting a web drama. Fake my ass. If this were CGI, could the effects run into real life too? Are you crazy? Just then, the teacher's phone suddenly rang. And after listening to the voice on the other end of the call, a long-lost smile actually appeared on the teacher's face. You have finally returned. For a full 300 years, I have been waiting for this day. I will prepare the freshest, most tender meat for you right now. Hearing that bizarre conversation, all the students in the classroom subconsciously looked over. But what entered their eyes was a scene enough to make their scalps go numb. The teacher's body actually began to mutate little by little. You fat pigs were originally nothing more than livestock we kept as feed. Now that Lord Hell Demon has returned, the day humanity becomes domestic animals again has finally arrived. After speaking, the ghost flesh teacher raised a finger wrapped in black energy and pressed it directly against the tall student's forehead. The tall student looked in terror as that black energy continuously poured into his body. In the next second, the fear on his face vanished instantly, replaced by a bloated and eerie smile. This was the ghost flesh teacher's signature demonic art, infection. The infected tall student slowly turned his head and looked at the classmates behind him who were screaming. In the next second, he pounced violently and bit into the other student's neck. Very quickly, that girl was infected too. For a time, the entire class completely lost control, as one student after another was thrown down and infected. The ghost flesh teacher looked at the scene before him, his face filled with satisfaction. It had been far too long since things had been this lively. Now this was what life should be like. And just 5 minutes earlier, Goyang had walked into the bathroom, mourning alone for his friend Kong Jongbo, whom he had swallowed. But what he never could have imagined was that a faint glow suddenly lit up beneath him, as a dazzling golden light enveloped the entire stall. Kong Jongbo was actually pulled out of Goyang completely intact. Not long after, Kong Jongbo woke up. Seeing the scene before him, Goyang could not tell for a moment whether he should be glad that his friend was still alive, or afraid that Kong Jongbo might turn into a monster again. At this time, Kong Jongbo only felt as if his head were splitting apart, and asked in confusion, "Why am I here?" Goyang could only make up a lie on the spot, saying that he had heard some noise while passing by and came in to take a look. He obviously could not say that he had pulled Kong Jongbo out while using the toilet. But Kong Jongbo's memory seemed to have a problem. He only remembered that he had been bitten by a dog on his way home. Hearing this, Goyang suddenly realized that was exactly when Kong Jongbo had been possessed by the monster. Could it be that? Just then, Kong Jongbo suddenly noticed the pattern on his arm. What is this? Why do I have this kind of thing on my body? Hearing that, Goyang suddenly came up with a bold guess. Kong Jongbo, do you remember what grade we're in now? Kong Jongbo looked baffled by the question. 9th grade, of course. What else would it be? But they were clearly already in the first year of high school. But to make sure this was not just the monster pretending on purpose, he had to test him again. Kong Jongbo, do you still remember your favorite game, League of Legends? Back then, what position did your best champion, Teemo, actually play? Hearing this, Kong Jongbo looked even more confused. Why are you suddenly talking about games? And why would Teemo be my champion? Team fights can be lost, but Teemo must die. Goyang's tears instantly fell. At this point, he could finally be sure that the Kong Jongbo in front of him was not a monster in disguise. Kong Jongbo, welcome back. After saying a few simple words, Goyang planned to go out first and find some clothes for Kong Jongbo to wear. But at the very moment Goyang stepped out of the bathroom, a strange burst of laughter suddenly came from nearby. Goyang turned his head in confusion, and a hideous face instantly pressed right up in front of his eyes. And behind that face was a group of similarly mutated classmates, slowly closing in on him step by step. Why are you here alone? Come on, become my livestock with the rest. Above the heads of those classmates, the ghost flesh teacher was looking down at Goyang coldly. Seeing this, Goyang was so frightened that he immediately retreated back into the bathroom. But those classmates also rushed forward at the same moment, slamming madly against the wooden door. Goyang had no idea why monsters had suddenly appeared in the school, but he knew that he had to escape immediately. But just as Goyang was about to jump out the window, Kong Jongbo's voice came from inside the bathroom stall. Goyang, is that you back there? What exactly is happening outside? And why is it so noisy? Also, my head hurts so badly, and all these strange images keep appearing in my mind. Why do I see myself bullying you? That can't possibly be real, right? In truth, the old Kong Jongbo had been keener than anyone. Everything had started with those damned monsters. On their way home from school 1 year earlier, they had run into a vicious dog walking toward them in an alley. When the two of them let their guard down for a moment, that vicious dog suddenly bared its fangs and lunged at them. In order to protect Goyang, Kong Jongbo shoved him away and raised his own arm to block the dog head-on. Its sharp fangs pierced straight into his flesh on the spot, and the eyes of that vicious dog, which had originally been glowing blue, suddenly went dark in the next second. Then it inexplicably lost all signs of life and collapsed to the ground. And it was from that very moment that Kong Jongbo's body was completely taken over by the monster. For the past year, that monster had lived through Kong Jongbo's body as a monster. If Goyang still kept running away like before and only knew how to avoid things, then nothing would ever change. Are you going to keep running and become their prey? Or are you finally going to throw that punch? Damn it, Goyang truly did not want to keep enduring anymore. With that thought, he directly took off his clothes and threw them to Kong Jongbo. Put this on first. Thank you for always protecting the weak me back then. Those memories in your head were not things you did. They were all done by the monster. As Goyang pulled the door open with his own hands, the ghost flesh teacher slowly walked in with that group of classmates. You actually opened the door yourself. Such an obedient piece of livestock. I've changed my mind. Instead of offering you to Hell Demon, I'll eat you myself. I won't endure anymore, and I won't run anymore. You damned monsters. I am the legendary strongest Miyak-ji-sa. Get ready to be eaten by me. Seeing that Goyang actually dared to resist, the ghost flesh teacher could not help bursting into laughter. Livestock that fights back tastes even better. Pigheads, all of you, attack. In the next second, the mutated classmates crazily lunged at Goyang. And the fact that this monster was using the students as the vanguard was completely beyond Goyang's expectations. Faced with these classmates he saw day and night, Goyang's heart instantly fell into chaos, because they were clearly all innocent. But those monsters gave Goyang no chance to hesitate at all. They pinned his head down and knocked him to the ground. In only an instant, Goyang was pinned tightly beneath the swarm of classmates, as they frantically bit and tore at his flesh, and even reached out to gouge out his eyes. Every single piece of livestock I transform into a half-monster is equal to my teeth and tongue. It has really been so long since I've tasted such tender fresh meat. But as the classmates continued biting, the ghost flesh teacher suddenly sensed that something was wrong. Why does this taste so strange? This doesn't taste like human flesh at all. Just then, a voice suddenly came from inside Goyang's body. What are you still spacing out for? Do you really want to be eaten alive by them like this? If this drags on, in less than 10 minutes you'll be nothing but a skeleton. But they were all just humans to begin with. They've only been controlled by monsters. Do you really think they're still human? Weren't those people always bullying you? Or standing by and watching coldly? Or mocking your weakness? To you, what difference is there between those people and monsters? No, they were just afraid of becoming the ones who got bullied too. And besides, not everyone was like that. Sometimes people would stand up and help me, just like the old Kong Jongbo did. Humans and monsters are still different in the end. Hearing that, the old man revealed a faint smile. It seems I wasn't wrong about you. Congratulations, you've passed the test. At this very moment, they were inside Goyang's stomach. If monsters want to come to the human world, they must pass through the cracks of hell. But that crack is extremely narrow, so monsters can only abandon their physical bodies and enter the human world in soul form. Like ghostly flames in movies, they drift about everywhere. In this state, monsters have almost no real physical power. So the first thing monsters do after arriving in the human world is seize a human body. Once they occupy that body for a full year, they completely become the master of it. This is called complete monsterization. Once it reaches this stage, human exorcism alone can no longer save the host. To drive the monster out, the only option is to kill the host along with it. But there is still one single method that can save a completely monsterized human. That is the stomach and intestines of Miak Gw Isa. Once a monster is swallowed by Miak Gw Isa, it is completely digested here, and the original host, in a purified state, is expelled intact through the anus. But there is one precondition, and that is that Miak Ji-saw must not hate humans. Once Miak Ji-saw begins to loathe humans, then humans will be digested together with the monsters. That is why Goyang had to be tested just now. And now, the true source of Miak Ji-saw's power can finally be released to him. It is a power dangerous to the extreme, and agonizing to the extreme. Its name is the inborn human appetite. That intense appetite instantly forced Goyang to open his mouth wide and bite toward the classmates in front of him. That enormous mouth swallowed several classmates in a single bite. Seeing this, even the ghost flesh teacher was stunned. What in the world is going on? And at this moment, Goyang only felt like he was about to lose his mind. His stomach felt as if it had gone hungry for 10 whole days. He was starving. This terrifying appetite made Goyang's mouth open wider and wider, as if he wanted to swallow everything in front of him. At last, the ghost flesh teacher reacted. This guy? Could he be Miyakji-saw? But Goyang gave him no chance to escape at all. He opened his huge mouth and lunged straight at him. Faced with Goyang's giant mouth, the ghost flesh teacher instinctively raised an arm to block. But in the next second, Goyang bit off the ghost flesh teacher's entire arm by force. But at the very instant he bit into that arm, Goyang suddenly sensed that something was wrong. This taste, why is it different from the other classmates? This feeling left even Goyang himself stunned. It was as if his whole body had suddenly been fully awakened. This taste is so delicious, unbelievably delicious. And in a building 5 minutes earlier, almost all of South Korea's top officials had gathered there and respectfully spoke to the person before them. Cheonak Bodhisattva, you weren't injured, were you? I'm just a woman who only knows sorcery. What could possibly happen to me? The ones who have truly worked hard are you people who handle the affairs of South Korea. It turned out that the person before them was none other than the famous Cheonak Bodhisattva of South Korea. And every 5 years, during South Korea's presidential election, those top political figures almost always came to ask Cheonak Bodhisattva to perform wish-granting sorcery, hoping that they could win the election. What they said out loud was always that it was for an age of peace and prosperity. Of course, a thriving nation is a good thing, but anyone can say such pretty words. Even if I can push you into the leader's position, whether you can become truly wise rulers depends on whether you yourselves have that ability. If you cannot lead South Korea to glory, then after death, all of you will fall into the most terrifying stone mill hell. Cheonak Bodhisattva scattered grains of rice onto the table and formally began this wish-granting sorcery. But in the next second, Cheonak Bodhisattva calculated an extremely terrifying result. 1 year from now, this country will actually have no leader at all. Before those officials could figure out what those words meant, a violent earthquake suddenly swept across the entire city. Seeing this, Cheonak Bodhisattva's face instantly turned ugly to the extreme. She immediately summoned the girl guarding nearby. Jajong, notify all the monks. Full battle gear. Prepare to march out. I'd like to see exactly who gave them the courage to openly reveal their true forms on my territory. Right in the center of Seoul, a gigantic grotesque lifeform suddenly appeared. No one knew what exactly was going on, except for one woman watching everything from afar, who knew the answer. Baekgusa, I didn't expect you to be so playful. I've only just come back, and you've already prepared such a grand show for me. At this moment, around that monster, 2 television station helicopters were slowly approaching. This is TJB Television. We are broadcasting this horrifying scene live to the whole nation. That monster's form looked like the body of a snake forcibly attached to a human head. And just then, the monster seemed to notice the helicopter's noise. It kept muttering, I'm starving to death. In the next second, countless tentacles with mouths on them suddenly burst out from its giant mouth. This was precisely the transformation type level 5 monster, Baekgusa. Those tentacles twisted as they shrieked madly, so hungry, so hungry. Then they directly lunged at the nearest helicopter. As the helicopter crashed, Baekgusa immediately turned its attention to the greatest mass of meat on the ground. The people below who had not yet managed to flee were bitten on the spot by tentacle after tentacle. Then shrill screams instantly echoed through the entire street. Cheonak Bodhisattva watched all of this from the distance with her own eyes, and her face immediately sank to the extreme. Immediately block all news and social media. I gave you your office so you would be useful at a time like this. If you can't do it, then give me back that golden thing on your chest. Hearing that, the official was so frightened that he nodded repeatedly and hurriedly said he would definitely do it. However, forgive my boldness, but why did that monster suddenly appear? It didn't suddenly appear. Those monsters have always been hiding among the crowd. A great many crimes that occur in the human world were in fact committed by monsters. Although there are many monsters that feed on fear, that is, soul-eating. Cases like this, where one directly reveals its true form and openly eats flesh, are extremely rare. Because those monsters all know that once they commit crimes on this level, they will immediately be eliminated by our Cheonak Hall. At this moment, a voice came through the intercom, saying that they had arrived at the target location. Very good. You may begin the exorcism. At this moment, Baekgusa, long driven out of control by hunger, was frantically feeding. Once this kind of appetite starts, it cannot be stopped at all. Just then, a plane swept over its head. Immediately after that, several fully armed personnel jumped down one after another. The target was a level 5 giant monster, so at least 10 exorcism talismans had to be deployed. As the parachutes opened, those enormous talisman parachutes instantly appeared before everyone's eyes. Something so conspicuous was immediately noticed by the monster. Baekgusa instantly controlled its tentacles and sent them to bite at the armed personnel descending from the air. Although 1 or 2 people were unfortunately swallowed by the monster, most of the team still landed successfully, and they pressed the parachutes tightly against the monster's skin, then opened their backup parachutes and rapidly withdrew from the scene. Very good. The 10 exorcism talismans have all been deployed. Thank you for your hard work, monks. Leave the rest to me. As for the monks who were sacrificed, please rest assured that Cheonak Bodhisattva will personally hold a requiem rite for you. Watching his comrades die before his eyes, Jotjong's anger was instantly ignited, and she immediately began the sorceress judgment. A pair of sharp blades slashed straight toward Baekgusa's head. At the same time, the 3 people on the helicopter also began the exorcism ritual in sync. Seeing this, Jotjong stepped barefoot onto the twin blades. Sun, moon, stars, the gods of heaven and earth, Jade Emperor, true man Pangu. I offer this giant monster to the gods. Please take it away and cast it into the 18 levels of hell. As the incantation continued to be chanted, and with the rhythm of the ritual array played by the 3 people nearby, Baekgusa's face instantly turned deathly pale, and blood started running down its face. Meanwhile, back at the school, because the appetite of Myeok Ji-saw inside Goyong had been completely awakened, he directly bit off one of the ghost flesh teacher's arms in a single bite. For Myeok Ji-saw, the flesh and blood of monsters was the most delicious food of all, but just as Goyong was still immersed in that taste, the ghost flesh teacher's giant hand suddenly came slamming down, and smashed Goyong hard into the ground on the spot. Lord Hell Demon had said that she had already swallowed Myeok Ji-saw's pearl, which meant that this kid was now nothing more than an empty shell without the slightest trace of monster energy, and now was the best possible chance to kill him. But in the next second, the ghost flesh teacher's fist was steadily caught by Goyong, and that ferocious blow from before had not caused even the slightest real damage. Could you let me eat a little more? In the next second, Goyong's punch landed squarely in the ghost flesh teacher's abdomen, driving deep into it. Damn it. I didn't expect that even without the pearl, Myeok Ji-saw would still be this strong. With just me alone, I'm afraid I can't win at all. With that thought, the ghost flesh teacher violently kicked Goyong in the stomach. The force of that blow sent Goyong flying several meters away. By the time Goyang came back to his senses again, the ghost flesh teacher who had originally been standing there had long since disappeared. Damn it, do I really have no choice but to call them out? But if I ask them for help, the price will be far too great. But if I want to stay alive, I have no other choice. In the next second, a faint smile actually appeared in the ghost flesh teacher's eyes. My lord, are you calling for us? If you want our help, of course that's possible. But how much are you willing to pay us? You two bastards, you're parasitizing my body, and you still have the nerve to ask me for benefits. It can't be helped. We're simply too hungry. Allow us to boldly remind you, my lord, if you keep dragging this out, that boy behind you is really going to catch up. Seeing that Goyang was already closing in, the ghost flesh teacher could not worry about anything else and immediately gritted his teeth and agreed. As long as you kill that brat for me, I'll give you 100 pig heads. At this moment, Goyang also sensed a trace of danger and immediately tried to rush up and stop them. But he was still one step too late. A red and a blue monster directly crawled out of the ghost flesh teacher's eyes, and the instant Goyang met their gaze, the two monsters began attacking every part of Goyang's body at astonishing speed. At this moment, Goyang was suppressed so badly that he had no power to fight back at all, and could only take the beating passively. The two monsters locked onto their target, preparing to deliver the final blow to Goyang. But in the next second, the scene before them made them freeze on the spot. Their fully powered strike was caught by Goyang with perfect precision. Elsewhere, Baekgusa, who was enduring the sorceress attack, was in agony to the extreme. It desperately swung its tentacles, trying to tear all these troublesome humans to pieces. But the monks nearby, in order to keep the sorcery from being interrupted, directly used their own bodies to block the monster's attacks. Immediately afterward, all the monks released the parachutes they had been using to save their lives. No matter what, they had to buy enough time. Even if the price was their own lives, they believed that in the end they would reach the pure land of ultimate bliss. As the final section of the incantation was completely sung, Baekgusa's body finally reached the brink of total collapse. But Baekgusa did not seem to care in the slightest. So what if I go to hell? It's been a long time since I've eaten this full. Besides, hell can no longer hold us anyway. In the next second, Baekgusa's body began to slowly swell. Then its massive body exploded with a thunderous blast, and countless ruined tentacles scattered outward from inside it. But Baekgusa's final words just now left Jachong utterly unable to understand. How could hell possibly fail to hold them? What nonsense is that monster talking about? Just then, Chianak Bodhisattva's voice came through the earpiece. Jachong, we have just detected the appearance of another powerful monster. Immediately bring any monk still capable of fighting and head to Campus A. The ghost flesh teacher had appeared. With monsters showing themselves one after another, it meant there had to be a sufficiently powerful backer behind them. After receiving the order, Jachong glanced at the monster's remains below and immediately rushed toward the next area. Smith, transfer 2 more monk companies over here. Smith behind her looked completely confused. Is the ghost flesh teacher really that dangerous? Isn't he only a level 4 monster? You're wrong. You have to understand that every time a monster rises by 1 level, its danger increases by more than 10 times. 1 ghost flesh teacher is equivalent to 10 Baekgusas of roughly comparable strength. 6 ghost flesh teachers would equal 60 Baekgusas of roughly comparable strength. Also, the ghost flesh teacher can use the demonic art of infection to turn humans into half-monsters, and once humans become half-monsters, they continue turning others into half-monsters. If this is ignored in the early stage, all of South Korea could become a nest of half-monsters in a very short time. And in order to protect his fragile physical body, the ghost flesh teacher also houses 2 parasitic monsters inside himself named Disease and Emotion. Those 2 are equally troublesome. They are known as the strongest hand-to-hand fighters among level 4 monsters. Faced with the joint assault of the 2 monsters, Disease and an Emotion, Goyang was beaten into a miserable state. Against that absurdly fast speed, Goyang simply could not even seize an opening to counterattack. He had to suppress their speed first. Thinking of this, Goyang immediately grabbed hold of their pant legs. This time, you're not getting away again. After saying that, he opened his huge mouth, preparing to swallow them both whole. But unexpectedly, this time Goyang lunged at empty air again. Those 2 had vanished as if into thin air. And just then, Goyang realized in shock that the infected classmates had surrounded him once more. One of the classmates' eyes suddenly began to mutate, and immediately after that, a gigantic fist blasted straight out from her eye, and struck Goyang squarely in the face. Only at this moment did Goyang finally understand. The 2 parasitic monsters, Disease and Emotion, were actually hiding inside the student's eyes. You're saying those 2 parasitic monsters specialize in hand-to-hand combat? Then I should be the one to go. It's been too long since I've had any exercise, and I just happen to want an opponent to warm up with. But they are not fighting with ordinary combat techniques. Monsters above level 4 all possess their own unique exclusive demonic arts. The bizarre and extremely strange punching style of Disease and Emotion, forced Goyang to retreat step by step. Even when Goyang opened his huge mouth and tried to eat them, they could still easily dodge with that strange speed. Kid, where exactly are you looking? With turtle-like speed like yours, there's no way you can catch us. You should know that they could move back and forth through the bodies of these half-monsters, and their speed was almost close to the speed of sound. This was the exclusive demonic art of disease and emotion, half-monster hopscotch. They were so fast that the human eye could not keep up with them. Under these circumstances, Goyang had no way to judge the trajectory of their attacks, and could only stand there and passively take the beating, like a punching bag that could not fight back. Watching this from the side, the ghost flesh teacher was thrilled. Looks like today, we really are going to accomplish the great feat of killing Myak Jisa. Later, we'll catch a few livestock from the school and make them tonight's dinner. At this moment, Goyang only felt his head growing heavy, and his whole body was almost too unsteady to stand. Am I really going to die here in such a pathetic way today? No, I have to find a way to fight back. But his attacks still missed again and again. What he hit was always only the afterimage left behind by the enemy. And what answered Goyang was an even fiercer coordinated assault. If Goyang fell here, the students in the school, and Kong Jongbo too, would all be eaten by these monsters. Just then, the old man in his stomach finally spoke. Goyang, quickly close your eyes. Before the monster you swallowed is completely digested in your stomach, Myak Jisa can temporarily use that monster's ability for a full day. And the ability of the dog monster you ate yesterday is this. As long as you close your eyes and sense the smells around you, believe in yourself. No monster can defeat you, because you are their natural enemy, the ultimate apex predator. Goyang's fist struck the blue monster squarely in the face. It simply could not believe that it had actually been hit, but Goyang gave it no chance to catch its breath and swallowed it whole in one gulp. At that moment, Goyang's sense of smell became extraordinarily sharp, especially the scent of those monsters, which was so fragrant that he nearly lost control. Then with another punch, he blasted the red monster up to the ceiling. Seizing that opening, Goyang immediately opened his huge mouth, and swallowed it too in one move. Seeing this, the ghost flesh teacher instantly turned pale with fright. He turned and tried to run. It was too dangerous. He could never hold out alone. He had to go find Hell Demon for reinforcements. But just then, Goyang smelled an even more delicious scent. It was the ghost flesh teacher, who was in the middle of running away. Move aside. Don't block my way. But the ghost flesh teacher forgot one thing. Myak Jisa can use the abilities of the monsters it has just swallowed. Although it only lasts for one day, that was already enough. Goyang suddenly appeared right in front of him, and the ghost flesh teacher was caught completely off guard, only barely managing to dodge Goyang's strike in his panic. But the smell coming from the ghost flesh teacher only drove Goyang even crazier. That feeling made him even hungrier than before. The fragrance of that monster flesh was something he wanted to eat right now. But unexpectedly, the ghost flesh teacher once again dodged by relying on his nimble movements. Goyang did not even know why he had become like this. There was only one thought left in his mind: to eat that thing in front of him. Just then, two dazed half-monsters came walking from ahead. The ghost flesh teacher immediately ordered them to stop Goyang. But in less than a second, Goyang swallowed them in one bite, and sent them straight into his stomach to be purified. But that taste was not good at all. The only thing Goyang truly wanted was that most fragrant piece of monster flesh. It was the taste from that very last bite. And at the school gate, Jia had already arrived with the main force. All monks, listen to my order. Scatter white rice all around the school. The officer beside her was immediately confused. Do you intend to set up a barrier around the school? But if that's the case, what about the students and teachers inside? They'll be trapped in there too and won't be able to escape at all. If we are afraid even of sacrifice, then we will never defeat monsters. Because what those monsters are best at exploiting is the weakness in the human heart. Right now, we must eliminate the ghost flesh teacher completely, at any cost. Pick up your weapons and wipe every monster in this world out. The scene returned to the school again. Seeing Goyang in this completely uncontrollable state, the ghost flesh teacher was so frightened that his soul was practically leaving his body. And in his eyes, the gate ahead was practically his only path to survival. So he rushed toward it like a madman. But what he never expected was that he would be bounced straight back by the barrier outside. After realizing that there was no way left for him to escape, the ghost flesh teacher could only lower his head and beg for mercy. Wait, we can make a deal. I can tell you where the other monsters are hiding. I guarantee you'll always have something to eat in the future. But Goyang was never going to negotiate with a monster. He opened his mouth and bit off its last remaining arm. Unlike the ghost flesh teacher, who kept screaming miserably, when Goyang truly bit into that piece of monster flesh, he only felt that it was the most delicious thing he had ever eaten. The taste was simply perfect. In a rage, the ghost flesh teacher made one last desperate counterattack. He suddenly opened his huge mouth, trying to swallow Goyang instead. But when it came to whose mouth was bigger, Goyang had never lost. He bit through the ghost flesh teacher's neck in one bite, and with that, the ghost flesh teacher lost the last of his ability to resist. Completely dominated by appetite, Goyang had already entirely lost his reason, and clutched that delicious dessert as he bit into it again and again in a frenzy. All of this is mine. No one is allowed to take it from me. I'm going to eat it all. But just as Goyang was crazily feeding, a voice suddenly came from behind him. Goyang, is that you? What exactly are you eating over there? The voice of his friend Kong Jongbo instantly pulled Goyang back from the edge of losing control. Even Goyang himself did not know why he had become like this. Kong Jongbo, listen to my explanation. But Kong Jongbo shout while trembling all over. Don't come near me. Go away, you monster. Before Goyang could explain, Kong Jongbo had already turned and run away in terror. Only Goyang was left standing there blankly, completely unsure what to do. The scene shifted, and the infected students all returned to normal because of the ghost flesh teacher's death. They had simply lost that stretch of memory, and did not even know why there were so many bite marks on their bodies. And when Jiazhong, who had just entered the school, saw this, she was clearly stunned too. The half-monster state of the students had been undone, which meant that the ghost flesh teacher had already been defeated by some unknown existence. How could that be possible? After all, level 4 monsters cannot be killed by human physical attacks alone, which meant that whoever defeated it could absolutely not have been an ordinary human. Although they still did not know who that person was, one thing was certain: an existence stronger than a level 4 monster was somewhere inside this school. 2 days quickly passed, and a terrifying many-eyed monster once again appeared in the city center. Facing the punch smashed toward him by the monster, the protagonist easily dodged it, then pulled out the talisman paper he had prepared beforehand, murmured an incantation, and directly slapped it onto the monster's forehead. In the next second, a dull explosion suddenly rang out. Crack! It turned out that all of this was just a movie shoot. To calm the panic brought on by the previous monster incident, South Korea's top officials had specially invited a well-known production team and actors to film a short drama in the city center. Byung-hun, hello. The filming site of this monster hunt really looks convincing. Quite a few people online have already mistaken it for a real monster appearance. That's normal. Just looking at these lifelike props, even I almost believed it myself. We really have to thank Korea's special effects team. These things are made to look exactly like the real thing. Lee Byung-hun kept promoting the short drama in front of the camera. Very soon, the topic "Are monsters real or not?" shot straight to the top of the trending searches. Although most netizens had already believed that all of this was just filming, there were still a few people who insisted those monsters were real, because people around them had indeed disappeared directly after that incident. Humans absolutely must not be allowed to know that monsters exist, because the fear of the crowd would only become nourishment for the monsters in return. Right, how is that school doing now? Did we get the surveillance footage from that time? Because of the destruction caused by Bakusa, there was a total blackout in that area at the time, so nothing was captured. The previously quiet Bagusa and Ghost Flesh teacher had actually reappeared at the same time. That definitely could not just be a coincidence. Maybe that woman really had come back. And in some corner of the city center, a man was fishing for targets on social media. And the person he had set his sights on this time was a food blogger with the username Okja. Under the man's unbroken barrage of sweet words, Okja finally agreed to meet offline and go have a big meal together, and the restaurant they were going to was one personally recommended by Okja. Seeing that his plan had succeeded once again, a strange smile slowly curled onto the man's lips. Just one drop is enough to make you sleep until tomorrow morning. Following the navigation, the man arrived at the place Okja had mentioned. A grandmother's diner opened in a gloomy basement. Excuse me, are you the person who's been messaging me the whole time? The one who had come was indeed Okja, the person he was meeting this time. But unexpectedly, Okja was not shy at all. She directly hooked her arm around the man's and said with a smile, "Don't be so nervous. I'm really so hungry right now. I want to eat you up immediately." Hearing that, the man clearly misunderstood, and his whole face instantly turned red. "What did you mean by what you just said?" "Nothing, I mean, let's hurry downstairs and eat." The scene shifted. 2 days after the Ghost Flesh teacher had been defeated, a man claiming to be a police officer came to their school, and started asking the students one by one what exactly had happened that day. But most of the students simply could not remember. They only remembered that when they woke up, they were already lying in the hallway. And the explanation that man gave was that it was all memory loss caused by gas poisoning. But why had so many students gone missing? And why had there been no news coverage at all? And ever since that day, I had had a constant headache. If this was the school's responsibility, shouldn't they at least give us an explanation? But after questioning several people in a row, the man still got nowhere. Soon, it was Goyang's turn next. Goyang copied the others and pretended he knew nothing. But unexpectedly, at that moment, Goyang's stomach suddenly growled, and the sound was absurdly loud. but the other person only thought he had eaten something bad, and quickly told Goyang to hurry to the bathroom. But just as Goyang pushed the door open, he happened to run straight into his friend Kong Jongbo. Kong Jongbo, where exactly have you been these past 2 days? I has been really worried about you. But just as Goyang reached out and wanted to touch him, the expression on Kong Jongbo's face suddenly turned incomparably terrified. What he had seen that day flashed through his mind once again, frightening him so much that he collapsed to the ground on the spot. Cold sweat poured all over his body, and he froze there completely stiff. Seeing this, Goyang hurriedly wanted to step forward and ask him what was wrong. But just then, the cold voice of the man behind him came over. Weren't you saying your stomach hurt? How do you still have time to chat with your classmate here? Be careful, or you'll really end up soiling your pants in a minute. Goyang could only leave first, clutching his continuously rumbling stomach. Meanwhile, Kong Jongbo was taken into the room to be questioned by that man. Don't be nervous. I just want to do a simple investigation. Can you tell me what exactly you saw in that incident a few days ago? Just speak freely. Uncle will protect you. But at this moment, Kong Jongbo's mind was full of the scenes from that day. He simply did not know what exactly it was that he had seen that day. Nor did he know whether Goyang really was a monster. But the only thing Kong Jongbo could be sure of was that his past self really had indeed been like a monster to Goyang. To protect Goyang, Kong Jongbo still chose to lie in the end. I'm sorry, I didn't see anything. But that sentence only made the other party even more suspicious. But why do I get the feeling that you really did see something? Something like a monster, perhaps? Kong Jongbo, how about thinking carefully again? If you lie, Uncle is going to scold you. The man directly stretched out his hand, intending to force Kong Jongbo to tell the truth. Just when Kong Jongbo was about to break, Jia, dressed in a school uniform, burst in just in time. Let him go. I'll question him from here. Isn't this our model student from Chianak Hall? Sure enough, a school uniform suits you better than a military uniform. Jia walked up to Kong Jongbo. Without a single unnecessary word, she directly slapped a piece of talisman paper onto Kong Jongbo's forehead. Tell me everything you know, without leaving out a single word. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, Goyang was staring at the scene before him in complete shock. Because he had actually pooped out all the classmates he had swallowed into his stomach. But just as Goyang had absolutely no idea what to do, the bathroom doorknob was suddenly turned. Who could it be, choosing this exact moment to come? Luckily, Goyang had locked the door in advance, or it really would have been over. But in the very next second, the doorknob was forcibly ripped right off. The man claiming to be a police officer walked in with a smile. Student Goyang, did everything come out smoothly? Goyang was clearly stunned. And right at that moment, the old man in his stomach suddenly spoke up to warn him. Be careful, that guy is not human at all. And his rank is far higher than every monster you've encountered before, a high-ranking monster. Student Goyang, who are you talking to? Let me guess. It's that guy in your stomach, right? The old man in his stomach instantly sensed the other party's terrifying demonic aura. Goyang, as he is now, absolutely cannot beat this guy. Although it's earlier than I wanted, there's no other choice now. Now, I will release Miak GW Isaw's exclusive demonic art for you. 9 Directions Technique. In the next second, an earth-shaking explosive sound suddenly burst out from beneath Goyang. And elsewhere in the city, a man dressed in white had also been lured out by the Hell Demon Lord. Under the temptation of that sweet appearance, the man in white had already been completely enchanted. But even so, as he looked at this remote and gloomy underground restaurant in front of him, he still could not help asking, why do we have to come eat at a place like this? But Okja had no intention of answering him at all. She directly grabbed the man's arm and forcibly dragged him down. Come on, hurry up. The others should already be getting impatient. The others? What do you mean by that? As the door was pushed open, a group of men were already seated inside the restaurant. Hello, everyone. I'm Okja. We finally met. But when the men in the restaurant saw Okja, not only were they not happy, their expressions changed instantly instead. What exactly are you doing? Why did you invite so many men here all at once? But the only response they got was that strange smile on Okja's face. In the next second, a coil of black hair suddenly wrapped around a man's neck. I'm really sorry, but I'm just too hungry. If I only eat one, it won't fill my stomach at all. As their life force was drained away little by little, their bodies also began to age rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. And the man in white at the back, seeing this scene, was already trembling all over in terror. Didn't I say it already? I only came down here to eat. In order to successfully open the gates of hell, she had to eat many, many things. As the last bit of life was completely squeezed out, all the humans in the restaurant eventually turned into ash and scattered into the air. In truth, to open the gates of hell, she only needed to eat 666 humans. And now, she was still short by 200. On the other side, before Goyang could even recover from his shock, a terrifying current of air had already carried him straight out through the window. Seeing this skill with its overpowering smell, Even that monster man could not help frowning and sighing. It really stinks like hell. Just like the rumor said, filthy and low class. Because of this not so dignified skill, Goyang flew directly up above the school. But just when Goyang, terrified of heights, was panicking helplessly, that monster man's speed was actually even faster than his, and he caught up in the blink of an eye. Before Goyang could react at all, he was pinned down by the other party in one grab. Then he was slammed violently into the mountain behind the school. After the dust cleared, a huge crater had appeared in the forest. You know, because you defeated the ghost flesh teacher, the people at Cheonok Hall were quite shocked. But in the end, it was just a level 4 minor monster. Whether it's that thing or you, both of you are far inferior to me. While it was speaking, Goyang suddenly grabbed a piece of broken stone beside him and hurled it hard. But unexpectedly, when the stone hit the other's face, it had no effect at all. It only cracked the human skin mask on its face a little. Seeing this, Goyang could only bite down on one of its fingers. But even though the finger was bitten off, the monster man was only slightly startled and did not suffer any real damage. So Goyang opened his giant mouth again, wanting to swallow the whole thing in one bite. But unexpectedly, his mouth was gripped shut tightly by the monster man. Why do I feel like you look more like a monster than I do? Immediately after that, a terrifying heavy punch blasted Goyang flying away. But because Goyang's mouth was still being held in that guy's hand, the other party simply gave a casual yank, and Goyang was forcibly pulled back like a spring. Faced with such an overwhelming gap in strength, Goyang had no power to resist at all and could only passively take the beating, while the intense pain slowly began to swallow up his consciousness. Just then, the monster man launched an uppercut-like heavy blow straight at Goyang's head. That terrifying force sent Goyang flying dozens of meters into the air, and because of that hit, Goyang completely lost consciousness. But even so, the monster man still had no intention of sparing Goyang. It directly stomped Goyang into the ground. Then, grabbing Goyang by the mouth, it slowly lifted him up. You're done already? How boring. A Miak G-cell like you is supposed to be called the natural enemy of monsters? What a joke. Looks like Hell Demon can only be handled by me alone. But right then, Goyang suddenly stabbed a tree branch hard into the monster man's stomach. What a boring little human trick. I didn't expect that even after losing consciousness, you'd still resist. I've heard that if you eat Miak G-saw's jewel, you can obtain the powers of the monsters he has swallowed. If that's really true, then I would quite like to try it. At that moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Number 23, stop. Have you forgotten Cheonok Bodhisattva's order? Do I need to use this to remind you? Seeing this, number 23 immediately said with a smile, I'm just playing around. Why be so sensitive? Just mind your own business. Otherwise, I can't guarantee whether your head might explode in the next second. Threatened like that, number 23's expression instantly turned extremely ugly, yet there was nothing he could do about it. In the end, he could only throw Goyang down and hand him over to Jotjong and the others. Before he regains consciousness, tie him up immediately and send him back to Cheonok Hall. When Goyang opened his eyes again, he discovered that he had already been tied up tightly. You're finally awake. No need to be too nervous. My name is Cheonok Bodhisattva. If my subordinates offended you just now, I hope you can forgive them this once for the sake of the bigger picture. For a very long time now, we have been fighting monsters. That means we are not your enemies, but companions who should be fighting side by side with you. But at just that moment, Goyang's stomach growled once again. Looks like you're really hungry. That's only natural. Ever since you ate the ghost flesh teacher, you haven't had anything else to eat. Here, have this to tide you over for now. Right then, an extremely tempting fragrance drifted over from behind Goyang. And that smell was actually coming from a little girl. Cheonok Bodhisattva directly tore off the talisman paper covering Goyang's mouth. At the moment, I can only find level 5 monsters, but I promise that next time, I will prepare even tastier food for you. Looking at the pitiful little girl in front of him, who kept crying for her father and mother, Goyang actually really had the urge to swallow her whole. Even Goyang himself could not believe what was happening to him. She was clearly still just a child. But unexpectedly, after hearing that, Cheonok Bodhisattva only smiled faintly. You've misunderstood. What monsters are best at is imitating human voices and appearances, and they do that for only one purpose, to eat people. But seeing that Goyang still did not believe it, Cheonok Bodhisattva simply untied the ropes on the little girl. Humans are like this. They are only ever willing to believe what they see with their own eyes. Since that's the case, then I'll let you witness for yourself exactly how monsters deceive people. The moment Goyang saw that, afraid the little girl might fall, he immediately and instinctively rushed forward to catch her, but unexpectedly, the harmless-looking little girl from just a moment ago instantly transformed into a horrifying monster in the next second. With one punch, it violently sent Goyang flying. And the instant Goyang hit the ground, that monster directly leaped above him. Using a crushing downward attack, it slammed down on top of Goyang. What a stupid witch, actually helping me untie myself with your own hands. Then I'll start by eating this brat first. As soon as it said that, its massive fist came smashing down hard onto Goyang's face. The continuous heavy blows smashed Goyang's head right into the ground. Seeing the scene, the officer beside them looked full of worry, afraid that something might happen to Goyang. Don't worry. This is originally a test to see whether the person Hong Guangyu chose really has the qualifications. I want to see with my own eyes whether what he eats is truly monsters or people. But just then, Goyang caught the monster's incoming fist with one hand. Only at that moment did Goyang suddenly remember that Miak Ji-saw had always had only one way of saving people, eating the monster. In order to save the little girl in front of him who looked like a pig-headed child, Goyang decided to swallow it whole into his stomach. Hearing Goyang say that, the pig-headed monster had not even had time to react. Before Goyang suddenly stretched out giant mouth bit its head off in one bite, worthy of the ultimate apex predator. I'm very satisfied with your performance just now. Please rest assured, I bear you no ill will. From now on, I will keep giving you monsters to eat, until you grow strong enough to fight Hell Demon. And at this moment, in some remote house, a perverted serial killer had set his sights on the old woman next door, who was walking with difficulty. Although he was also a little surprised that such an old woman lived alone in such a remote place. In his view, an elderly person whose limbs were already so clumsy could not possibly make any trouble. Your house is really quiet. The most important thing is, there isn't a single person nearby. Even if you scream your throat out, no one will hear you. But unexpectedly, not only was the old woman not afraid at all, she slowly took out an axe instead. Seeing this, even the killer was stunned for a moment. You don't need to mind this. I'm only holding it because I'm afraid you'll run away. Just as the killer was about to ask what exactly that meant, a roll of black hair suddenly pierced into the back of his neck. Not long after, his entire body was sucked dry into a mummified corpse. But Hell Demon was clearly very dissatisfied with today's meal. Why do you always bring back this kind of useless trash? Aren't there any more decent humans? The number for the gates of hell has already stopped. Ordinary humans can no longer make the number rise. From now on, you must choose humans of higher quality for me. Hearing that, the old woman could only helplessly say that she would do her best. Just then, the wrestling monster happened to return, and also happened to hear their conversation from earlier. Looking at the human he had brought back in his hand, he seemed a little embarrassed. Lord Hell Demon, do you think this human will do? Just looking at him ruins my appetite. Did you deliberately bring him here to disgust me? But unexpectedly, not only was the fat man in front of them not afraid, after seeing Hell Demon, he became even more excited. Sure enough, everything written in this book was true. Seeing that, Hell Demon directly took the book over. This book not only wrote about the wrestling monster, it had also written about Hell Demon in vivid detail. Ever since I read this book, I've been desperately searching for monsters. I am willing to offer up my soul and body. Please turn me into a monster too. A soul like yours doesn't interest me much at all. But I have thought of a much more interesting way to play. After saying that, Hell Demon directly activated his own ability, Demon Transformation Hair. The scene shifted, and Goyang had already returned to school. Just as he was still hesitating over whether he should cooperate with Chianak Bodhisattva, the class bully walked up behind Goyang. Hey, loser-o, I'm hungry now, so hurry up and go buy me some bread. Just as he raised his hand and tried to yank Goyang up, Goyang almost instinctively grabbed his arm in one motion. That move instead completely enraged the bully. He grabbed Goyang by the collar and shouted angrily, "Are you tired of living?" Seeing this, Goyang quickly lowered his head and apologized, saying that he would go buy the bread right away. But just as the bully lowered his head and looked toward Goyang's mouth, an indescribable sense of fear instantly made cold sweat pour down his body. I'll let this one go, but watch yourself next time. What the hell is going on? Why is it that the moment I see that kid's mouth, my whole body starts trembling uncontrollably? Some blurry images also began flashing through his mind. In that memory, he and the other students seemed to be flying in the air. And then they were suddenly attracted by a beam of light in the sky, and everyone flew uncontrollably toward that light. And just as Goyang was still wondering why this guy had suddenly stopped hitting him, Kong Jongbo appeared at the classroom door. But the moment he saw Goyang, he immediately turned around and left. Even Kong Jongbo himself did not know what exactly he was afraid of. He only vaguely felt that if he really spoke to Goyang, then he would definitely hear some truth that he simply could not bear. But just then, Kong Jongbo saw something bizarre. A long-necked monster had actually appeared in the school, and it seemed that only Kong Jongbo could see its true form. The scene shifted, and Kong Jongbo was walking on the road home. But those bizarre things had not disappeared from his sight. Could it be that I've really developed a mental problem? Why am I seeing all this weird nonsense among the crowd? At that moment, the commotion coming from the distance drew Kong Jongbo's attention. Look, that guy is so handsome. I feel like I've seen him on TV before. But in Kong Jongbo's eyes, the guy in front of him was clearly an unbelievably ugly fat man. And yet with exactly that kind of face, two beautiful women had actually gone up and started talking to him on their own. "Do you want to go on a date with me? Then you'd better be prepared, because in my swamp, you'll sink little by little." The reason he had become like this was because Hell Demon had implanted a lust ghost inside his body. Everyone within a 1 li radius would see him as an incredibly handsome man. Women in particular would be instantly captivated the moment they made eye contact with him. At this moment, those two women had already completely fallen for him. In their eyes, the fat man before them was so irresistible he was like a male god. Kong Jongbo was completely dumbfounded. Could it really be his own eyes that had a problem? But what shocked him even more was this. The man who had still looked like a fat guy just a second ago suddenly transformed directly into an evil ghost the next moment. If no one stepped in now, those two girls would definitely be in danger. Kong Jongbo originally wanted to call the police, but when the words reached his mouth, he had no idea how to say it. No one would believe me anyway. Damn it, the most important thing right now is to save them first. The fat man took the two beautiful women to an enclosed construction site. And just as the fat man was still immersed in the fantasy of his own invincible charm, a group of people suddenly appeared ahead and directly blocked his path. "You waited this long to contact us, saying someone needed a beating. And it turns out it's this kind of guy. One look is enough to tell he's been relying on that face to do evil everywhere." At this moment, Kong Jongbo spoke in a trembling voice. "Let those two girls go, you monster." In order to deal with this monster, Kong Jongbo had called over all the thugs he could gather from the area. But what Kong Jongbo had never expected was that even though this fat man had clearly become a monster, he was still afraid. So much so that it even made Kong Jongbo start wondering whether he had seen things wrong. The truth was that the fat man was afraid because he had been bullied ever since he was young. So whenever he encountered a scene like this, he instinctively became timid. And just like that, not only did the fat man get beaten badly, even the clothes on his body were stripped off. But even after all that, those thugs still had no intention of letting him go. And they even forced him to take off his last pair of underwear too. At this moment, the fat man was trembling all over and did not dare resist at all. But just then, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. "Why are you still standing there in a daze? You've already become a monster, yet you're still this pathetic. Leave the rest to me. I will completely take over your body." In the next second, a foul smell began to spread from the fat man's body. The thugs who smelled it instantly started acting strangely. "Boss, I've actually liked you for a long time. Would you go out with me?" Hearing this utterly baffling confession, the gang leader was completely dumbfounded. But under the influence of that smell in the air, the two of them actually fell in love on the spot. Even the other punks each found their own other half. Only Kong Jongbo was completely unaffected. What was wrong with everyone? What kind of bizarre scene was this? I really didn't expect my lust mist to have no effect on you. Looks like you're also a human with very high spiritual power. After saying that, it charged straight at Kong Jongbo. A human with high spiritual power like you is exactly what Lord Hell Demon needs most. Just as Kong Jongbo was being choked so hard he could barely breathe, Goyang descended from the sky and split the two apart with one punch. "What did you do to my friend? You need to understand that there are two ways to cultivate Miyake Jisaw's power. One is to increase demonic power by devouring monsters, and the other is to learn and train in demonic arts. Up until now, you've always fought by making your mouth bigger, but that method only works when the enemy is weak. Once you encounter a monster stronger than yourself, there is no way you can swallow it with your mouth unless you defeat it first. So now, you must learn Miyake Jisaw's most basic demonic art, 9 Directions Technique. And in essence, 9 Directions Technique is a demonic art that compresses demonic energy and then releases it through the openings of the body. Once you become skilled at it, you can even release it through any opening in your entire body. For now, you can use it first to propel yourself and strengthen your attacks. Relying on this move, Goyang's speed and explosive attack power instantly rose by a huge margin. The sudden offensive left the Lust Ghost with no chance to fight back at all. Then came another heavy kick charged with power, sending it straight up high into the air. The reason Goyang had appeared here was because he had originally wanted to personally tell Kong Jongbo everything that had happened during this time. That was why he had been quietly following behind Kong Jongbo the whole time, never expecting to run into another monster again. Goyang seized the opportunity and immediately opened his huge mouth, trying to swallow the Lust Ghost in one bite. But unexpectedly, the distance was still just a little short, and the other side barely dodged it. If once wasn't enough, then he would try again. However, this time, the 9 Directions Technique would not come out no matter what. This is bad. You absolutely have to remember that 9 Directions Technique is a demonic art that uses demonic energy as fuel. If you are not skilled enough yet, it is very easy to waste too much demonic energy and completely drain it in a short time. The Lust Ghost seized that opening and smashed Goyang hard back into the ground with one punch. You really did scare me for a moment just now. I never thought I would run into a Miyake Jisaw in a place like this, but this is even better. As long as I capture you and bring you back, Lord Hell Demon will surely reward me greatly. Demonic art, lust arrow. Anyone struck by this arrow will treat the object they see before them as the person they love most in this life. In the human world, this move is also called Cupid's arrow. At this moment, Gaoyang knew very well that if he could not dodge it, then this time he was truly finished. At the instant that Cupid's arrow was fired, Gaoyang used the very last bit of his demonic power to forcefully propel himself away, barely dodging the attack. But the price was that the demonic power in his body was now completely exhausted. You aren't naive enough to think I can only fire one arrow, are you? At once, Cupid's arrows appeared on all 6 of the Lust Ghost's arms. In the next second, it fired them all at Gaoyang in a simultaneous volley. With no demonic power left, Gaoyang could no longer dodge at all. That intense burning sensation forced Gaoyang to collapse to the ground, writhing in pain. So-called true love is just that scorching, and just that torturous. At this moment, Gaoyang only felt that his entire being was wrong somehow. His heart felt as if it might explode at any moment, and just from seeing that guy's face, an indescribable impulse would arise in him. In order to stop himself from thinking any further, Gaoyang squeezed his eyes tightly shut. But the Lust Ghost had no intention of letting him go. It directly reached out and forcibly pried open Gaoyang's eyelids. Open your eyes wide and look carefully. From now on, you belong to me. In the next second, Gaoyang felt as if he were about to burst apart at any moment. That intense pain nearly drove him mad. Tell me, who am I? You are the person I love most. But amid that endless pain, Gaoyang suddenly roared out, you are my favorite food. At that moment, Gaoyang completely changed. His eyes became horrifyingly empty, exactly like a real demon. Lust Ghost had not even realized what was happening, when Gaoyang violently tore off both of his arms and then immediately drove a kick into his abdomen. His whole body was sent flying on the spot. At this moment, Gaoyang had already completely changed into another form, like a real monster. Meanwhile, on the other side, Chianak Bodhisattva was watching that entire scene through the drone footage. She immediately realized that this was Miyake Jisaw's complete monster form coming out on its own. Normally, when a monster takes over a human body, it swallows the soul along with it and completely occupies that flesh. But Miyake Jisaw was different. He hid beneath the human soul, because he had committed an unforgivable sin. He had once even devoured the strongest king of hell. So the heavenly realm had been hunting him all this time, and this time, it was precisely because of the lust arrow that he was forced out. Because he had mistaken Lust Ghost for the strongest king of hell among monsters. So he wanted to swallow him into his stomach again. After biting off Lust Demon's hands, Miyake Jisaw's expression visibly darkened, disgusted by how awful they tasted. What I want to eat is the king of hell. Hand him over right now. Although I don't know who you are, I have a feeling that you will threaten Lord Hell Demon. Even if I have to use up all of my demonic energy, I must make up for the mistake I made just now. In the next second, Lust Ghost fired all of the lust arrows from his entire body at once. But what he never expected was that Miyake Jisaw swallowed every single one of those arrows into his mouth. Just as Lust Ghost was still too shocked to recover, Miyake Jisaw's mouth suddenly disappeared. At the same time, half of Lust Demon's body disappeared along with it. Lust Ghost simply could not understand what had just happened. It was as if something invisible was gnawing away at his body bit by bit, and then devouring him completely. Number 23, you finally arrived. Your mission this time is to stop Miyake Jisaw. I allow you to release all of your power. But there is only one condition. You must bring Miyake Jisaw back to me completely unharmed. Old hag, your favoritism is way too obvious. Is that Miyake Jisaw your grandson or something? Why are you protecting him so much? Because if we want to stop Hell Demon, we must rely on Miyake Jisaw's power. He is more important than trash like you. Understood. But old hag, you'd better remember this too. Hell Demon's head can only be taken off by my own hand. The so-called Miyake Jisaw was originally just a hungry ghost living in the lowest level of hell. Among monsters, hungry ghosts are the lowest form of existence. They have no self-awareness. The only thing left in them is endless hunger. They live at the bottom of hell, eating monster corpses and excrement. When starving badly enough, they will even treat their own kind as food. They are also called the scavengers of hell. Even the creator god despised them, and would not even create an anus for them. So they are fundamentally unable to expel the things they swallow. Every hungry ghost, in the end, dies when its stomach bursts from overeating. But one day, a very long time ago, a young hungry ghost that had only recently been born was born in hell. At one moment, a thought suddenly appeared in his mind. I want to eat something better than this. This was something that should never have happened. Because although hungry ghosts want to eat, they never care whether the food actually tastes good. That young hungry ghost fell into confusion because he had thoughts for the first time. And he began constantly thinking about how he could eat something more delicious. Until one day, he finally understood. If he wanted to eat better things, then he first had to stay alive. Because once he died, he would not be able to eat anything anymore. From that day onward, the thought of surviving took root completely in that young hungry ghost's heart, and so for the first time, he learned to look up. Above him was the entrance to the cesspit at the lowest level of hell. Monster corpses and excrement all fell down here from that opening. The young hungry ghost stared at that hole for a very, very long time. Then at one moment, he awakened. He picked up a sharp bone, and viciously stabbed it into the lower part of his own body. He actually made an anus for himself with his own hands. From that point on, that young hungry ghost swallowed every monster he encountered into his stomach. After digesting them, he excreted them. In the end, even the king of hell was swallowed into his belly. At this moment, Lust Demon, reduced to nothing but a head, only felt that the whole thing was absurd beyond belief. But in that despairing agony, he was still dragged into Miyok-Ji-Saw's stomach. "Hello there. I hope I'm not interrupting your meal? I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're in for some bad luck, because that old hag has already allowed me to use all of my power." But in the very next second, the upper half of number 23's body was bitten off by Miyok-Ji-Saw in one gulp. But to everyone's surprise, number 23 appeared in front of Miyok-Ji-Saw once again. "Could you at least let me finish what I was saying?" Having been eaten again, number 23 even sounded a little speechless. "Go ahead, keep eating. You may eat one of me, but there are still thousands upon thousands of me out there. I heard you were originally just a hungry ghost, so I thought you were something impressive. But in the end, you're nothing more than the lowest kind of monster that eats shit. Although that old hag said we need to borrow your power to deal with Hell Demon. In my opinion, as long as I make a move myself, I can kill Hell Demon in an instant. Because I am the strongest monster, a descendant of Sun Wukong, the great sage equal to heaven." But unexpectedly, after number 23 threw this punch, Miyok-Ji-Saw just stood there without moving at all. Don't tell me he's already dead. How am I supposed to explain that to the old hag? But in the next second, a chunk of number 23's arm was suddenly bitten off. What an annoying bastard. But thanks to that, I've confirmed one thing. You can use your invisible mouths and body to devour other monsters, but each time, you can only eat one. In other words, as long as the number of clones I create exceeds the speed at which you can eat me, and I keep attacking non-stop, I can crush you to death. Faced with an overwhelming assault of clones, Miyok-Ji-Saw was completely suppressed and had no room to resist at all. In the blink of an eye, he was completely buried beneath those stomping feet. "You should be grateful I didn't kill you outright." But right at that moment, a white light suddenly lit up in Miyok-Ji-Saw's hollow eyes. Number 23 did not even have time to react. A terrifying explosion instantly blasted through the entire block. Meanwhile, because Lust Ghost had already died, those thugs who had just been trapped in Lust finally returned to normal. But the moment they thought about what they had just done, every one of them wished they could die on the spot. At that moment, Kong Jongbo, who was nearby, was also awakened by their shouting. Before he had fully come to his senses, a violent explosion sounded beside his ears. At the same time, the distant sky lit up with a blaze almost as bright as daylight. After the dust settled, number 23 coughed up blood from the force of that attack. He never expected that the 9 directions technique could actually be fired straight out of the mouth. "You really are the filthiest monster in history." And at that moment, in the middle of that cloud of dust, Miyok-Ji-Saw still stood there coldly. It was just that the layer of skin on his face belonging to Miyok-Ji-Saw had already begun peeling away bit by bit. When number 23 saw this, he actually smiled. It looked like his transformation was being undone. Most likely, he had not eaten enough, and that large-scale demonic technique just now had consumed more than half of his demonic energy. Just then, Miyok-Ji-Saw's invisible mouth bit toward number 23's arm again. But this time, number 23's arm was completely unharmed. "Are you trying to eat me to replenish your demonic energy? Too bad, this time it's my real body. And I won't let you succeed so easily." In order to capture Miyok-Ji-Saw successfully, number 23 decided to send out his true body directly. Because if he kept releasing clones, he would only keep feeding Miyok-Ji-Saw more demonic energy. It would be better to force him to keep using the 9 directions technique and drain even that last bit of demonic energy out of him. A terrifying shockwave once again blasted straight into the pitch-black night sky. And at that moment, more and more of the Miyok-Ji-Saw skin on his face was falling away. "Are you already starving that badly?" This attack was already far weaker than the last one. Watching the skin all over Miyok-Ji-Saw's body begin to crack apart, number 23 immediately judged that this guy's remaining demonic energy was only enough for one last 9 directions technique. With only this level of power left, even if he took it head-on, he could withstand it. So number 23 kicked Miyok-Ji-Saw in the stomach, trying to force out that final 9 directions technique. But no one expected that. Miyok-Ji-Saw would directly shove both of his hands into his own mouth. Seeing that, even number 23 was dumbfounded. "You lunatic, just to replenish your demonic energy, you're actually eating even your own hands?" After swallowing both hands, Miyake-Jisaw's condition instantly recovered again. In the next second, a full power 9 directions technique blasted head-on from his mouth. That power directly obliterated every street block along a straight line. After the dust cleared, the surviving number 23 was consumed with fury, because that explosion just now had already blown away half of his body, and Miyake-Jisaw once again fell into slumber. You damn thing, I've changed my mind. No matter what that old hag says, I'm going to kill you today. In the end, I alone will be enough to kill Hell Demon anyway. But just as he was about to strike, Kong Jongbo actually followed the sound of the explosion and found his way here. Faced with number 23's overwhelming pressure, he did not retreat even a single step and stood directly in front of Goyong. Goyong is my friend. You're not allowed to touch him. Hearing that, number 23 only found it ridiculous. Do you even know what he really is? How could a human and a hungry ghost possibly be friends? Since you want to die so badly, then I'll grant your wish and send both you and your friend to your deaths. But number 23's full force blow had absolutely no effect on Kong Jongbo, while his own fingers twisted and deformed on the spot instead. Before he had even recovered from the shock, Kong Jongbo's fist had already smashed straight into his face. It was clearly just an ordinary punch, yet it sent the descendant of the great sage flying. Number 23 simply could not believe it. Why would a human possess this kind of power? Even Kong Jongbo himself was stunned. He only felt that his body was unbelievably strange, as if some unfamiliar power were constantly flowing through him. Strips of colorful ribbons slowly floated around Kong Jongbo's body. In the next second, because of that sudden power, Kong Jongbo lost consciousness on the spot. At the same time, the enraged number 23 threw a punch. But to everyone's surprise, even though Kong Jongbo had lost consciousness, his body had moved on its own. You imposter, how dare you disobey my order? Meanwhile, Goyang had a very, very long dream. In the dream, he came before the strongest king of hell in hell. So you are that interesting hungry ghost? I heard you broke the fate that hungry ghosts cannot excrete. And you even managed to crawl all the way up from the very bottom of hell to stand before me. That is indeed worthy of praise. However, I am curious, if you eat everything in front of you, then in the end, won't this world be left with only you alone? You too are a pitiful being created by the creator god, lonely and tragic. Just like me, you don't have a single friend. When Goyang woke up again, he found that he had already arrived at Cheonak Hall headquarters. Even his severed hands had already grown back. From Jiachong, he learned what had happened afterward last night. After Kong Jongbo lost consciousness, his body began automatically defending itself. But the voice that came out of Kong Jongbo's mouth was Cheonak Bodhisattva's voice. You imposter, how dare you disobey my order? Are you tired of living? The moment number 23 heard the words imposter, he completely broke down. But Cheonak Bodhisattva had no intention of going easy on him. She directly began chanting through Kong Jongbo's body. Thousand-handed, thousand-eyed Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, great perfect unobstructed great compassion heart-thorny. In the next second, the golden circlet on number 23's head began tightening like mad. That intense pain drove him nearly insane. He could only beg for mercy at once. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please spare me this once. You said you could deal with Hell Demon? You don't really think your son Wukong, the great sage, equal to heaven, do you? You're nothing more than a tool created by genetic technology. After saying that, she turned around and carried Goyang onto her back. Goyang, I'm taking you home now. And this whole farce had long since been seen by Hell Demon from not far away. Now is not the time to start the war. We'll be meeting again very soon anyway. Because I have already sent out the invitations. Time returns to the present. Not long after waking up, Goyang's stomach suddenly started feeling uncomfortable again. I can't hold it anymore. Hurry up and tell me where the bathroom is. Then, after a moment of total relief, he pooped out another living person. And Jiachong was clearly already prepared. After that fat man woke up, she directly slapped a talisman paper onto his forehead. This talisman is called the Truth Talisman, and it can make him say everything he knows. The fat man also told them everything he knew. And at this moment, sitting all around were members of the Human Exorcist Alliance, an organization jointly established by the whole world 300 years ago after Hell Demon brought about a crisis of destruction. Everyone, tell me what you think. This fat man knows far too much information, so much that it feels suspicious. Exactly, it feels as if someone deliberately sent him to us to lure us into a trap. But even if this is a trap, we can't just do nothing, can we? After all, before the gates of hell fully open, we must defeat Hell Demon first. But since we already know this is a trap, do we really still have to step right into it? I think we should wait until Miyake-Jisawh becomes a little stronger first. Stop putting all our hopes on Miyake-Jisawh. Humanity's truly strongest power has always been science, not monsters. Easy for you to say. Most of the people here have abilities that have nothing to do with science. Well said, you car salesman who just joined. Have you ever actually fought a monster before, to dare say something like that here? If you are interested in my research, I can show it to you right now. I am also very curious whether these unscientific abilities of yours are really useful. This is an autonomous rocket fist equipped with a neutron cannon, rocket propulsion, and an AI targeting system. This is humanity's future. How much longer do you plan to keep fighting with old-era superstition and monsters? I thought you were just selling cars. Who knew you were actually making toys? Ivan, furious, charged forward with a punch. But to everyone's surprise, in the next second his head was struck head-on by a flying fist. Don't be nervous. I won't hurt you. I just want to show you what the future is supposed to look like. The moment Noah touched Musk, the two of them suddenly appeared in a world of ice and snow. Both of you calm down first. This is not the time for infighting among ourselves. The moment Musk saw Noah's teleportation ability, he became excited. This ability was incredibly powerful. It was practically made for Mars colonization. Though that might not be useful, because he could only teleport to places he had been before. Just then, Ivan's voice came through the phone. Hurry up and bring that guy back. I'm going to beat the hell out of him. Ivan, calm down first. Were you really trying to kill him just now? You even sprayed blood all over Musk. And this was Ivan's ability, to mix various mushroom spores into his own blood. When they teleported back to the meeting room again, seeing that Ivan was still angry, Noah quickly handed him the takoyaki in his hand. I heard you like this. Consider it my apology. No one expected that Ivan would actually be pacified by a serving of takoyaki. For the sake of the food, I won't argue with you this time. At this moment, Jingchuan quickly brought the topic back. While Hell Demon still hasn't fully recovered, we must perform the exorcism immediately. Or are we going to keep waiting for Miyake Jisa to slowly become stronger? We simply don't have that much time to waste. If we drag this out any longer, the gates of hell really will be opened. I agree too. No one can say for sure how long this new Miyake Jisa will take to grow. But if we rely only on ourselves, can we really defeat Hell Demon? If something goes wrong, we may instead give her enough spiritual energy to open the gates of hell. At that moment, Chianak Bodhisattva finally spoke. The current situation was almost exactly the same as it had been back then. At that time, the exorcists had also joined forces to subjugate Hell Demon. That was already 300 years ago. Although at first they all felt victory was certain. As the exorcists were devoured one by one, Hell Demon grew stronger and stronger. In the end, the number on the gates of hell stopped at 665. And at that time, she was the only one left alive in the end. Only then did she finally understand that from the very beginning, Hell Demon had been deliberately waiting for them. It was all to lure them over and devour them one bite at a time. What a coincidence. As long as I eat you two, I will be able to fully open the gates of hell. At that time, in order to prevent Hell Demon from absorbing the spiritual energy from her body, Chianak Bodhisattva had even intended to kill herself before being devoured. But Hell Demon stopped her. Your name is Chianak, right? The immense spiritual energy inside you is already enough for me to open the gates of hell. But just as she fell into complete despair, a man suddenly rushed out and tore off Hell Demon's hair in one yank. And it was that very blow that saved her from the demon's hands. I'm sorry, I came late. If I had arrived earlier, so many people would not have died. I was originally called Hong Guangyu, but now I am Miyake Jisa, the one who devours monsters and excretes them again. At that time, he had already brought Miyake Jisa's power to its absolute limit. Because of that, he was known as the strongest vessel in history. The scene returns to the school. Because of what happened last night, Kong Jongbo had completely remembered everything that had happened over the past year. Go-young, I'm sorry. Even after I treated you like that, you still risked your life to save me. It's all in the past, and besides, didn't you protect me before too? We will always be best friends. But Goyang and Kong Jongbo suddenly becoming this close left the other classmates completely dumbfounded instead. How did Kong Jongbo end up hanging out with that loser? Just then, the school tyrant walked over with a few followers. Hey, little bro Kong Jongbo, want to come out with us for a bit? As for you, loser, go buy me some bread. Just as Kong Jongbo was about to stand up for Goyang, Goyang stopped him first. It's fine, I can go buy bread for you. But first, you have to give me the money for the bread, 200,000 won. Hearing that number, the school tyrant froze on the spot. Are you sick? Are you crazy? Or am I crazy? Neither of us is crazy. It's 200,000. At first, everyone thought the school tyrant was about to explode in the next second. But to everyone's surprise, he actually took out 200,000 won. And even knelt on the ground, begging Goyang to accept the money. The reason it turned out this way was that any ordinary person with weak spiritual power who had been swallowed by Miyake Jisa would subconsciously retain a fear of Miyake Jisa. But right at that moment, someone suddenly grabbed Goyang's butt, and the one who did it was actually student Jimin, who had always been following beside the school tyrant. and even she herself thought the move was ridiculously outrageous. It's all your fault for swaying your butt in front of me the whole time. I couldn't hold back and touched it. This is all your fault. Even Jimin herself had no idea what she was saying. Her face turned red, and she ran off. Not long afterward, Jimin hid by herself in an empty corner, but the pounding in her heart simply would not calm down. Why is it that whenever I see Goyoung's mouth and butt, I feel like my heart is about to jump right out? Time goes back to the past. To ensure Cheonak Bodhisattva's safety, Hong Guangyu even swallowed her directly into his own stomach. Forgive my rudeness, but as long as Hell Demon is around, nowhere is safe. Only my stomach is the safest place. Seeing this, Hell Demon also revealed a surprised expression. A monster like you, who even devoured the King of Hell, and was banished from Hell because of it, why are you standing on humanity's side? And just then, Hell Demon seemed to suddenly realize something. I see now, you still have a human soul inside you. How incomprehensible. Why didn't Miak Jisoo completely take over your body? Because I made a pact with him. I get to keep my human soul, and in exchange, I must endlessly devour all you monsters. At that time, Cheonak Bodhisattva did not witness their battle with her own eyes. But when she opened her eyes again, she found that she seemed to have arrived in the depths of the universe. So this is Hong Guangyu's stomach? There, Cheonak Bodhisattva saw Hong Guangyu's memories. It was an unprecedented great famine, and countless common people never woke up again because of hunger. And those who went into the mountains searching for food were attacked by fierce tigers. At that time, Hong Guangyu was the local magistrate. But faced with the famine and the tiger scourge, there was nothing he could do. My husband, please don't give up. The people still depend on you as their magistrate. What does a magistrate amount to? What does a king amount to? They can do nothing. I truly hate this heaven to the core. But just then, a voice suddenly rang out. It's no use resenting heaven. Because from the very beginning, heaven has never cared about humankind. This egg is for you. It will become your fate. A cruel destiny will soon become entwined with you. After saying that, the mysterious man vanished into thin air just like that. Only Hong Guangyu was left standing there, stunned. My dear, did we just see a ghost? How did that man suddenly disappear? And what exactly did he mean by fate just now? As for that egg, Hong Guangyu originally wanted his weak and frail wife to eat it. But his wife immediately shook her head and refused. Didn't that man say it? This is your fate, husband. Maybe what he meant was that we should eat it together. But the moment Hong Guangyu picked up the egg and lightly touched it to his wife's forehead, an intense fear suddenly rose up in her heart. Seeing this, Hong Guangyu quickly stopped. My dear, what's wrong? It's nothing. I just think this egg is too strange. It feels as hard as a stone. Hong Guangyu found that hard to believe. How could an egg possibly be that hard? Out of curiosity, he simply picked it up and knocked it against his own forehead. The next second, the pain made him clutch his head and scream. His wife at the side could not help but laugh out loud. Whether this really counted as fate or not, one thing was certain, she could not eat that egg. It's fine. Thanks to this egg, I haven't laughed this happily in a very long time. Could so-called fate perhaps not mean having food to eat at all, but still having the chance to laugh heartily? Someday, this famine would surely pass. Everyone would once again live days where they could laugh freely. I hope that is true, just as fate said. And then one day, the imperial court finally sent people. And they even brought a huge amount of relief rice. Unable to bear the people's continued suffering, the court ordered the granaries opened and food distributed. Quick, gather everyone here. Not a single person can be missing. Hearing that, Hong Guangyu was so excited he could barely speak. The court truly hasn't abandoned us, just like my wife said. We really do still have a fate that allows us to laugh again. Not long after, all the people in the county had been gathered together. The moment they saw the relief grain, everyone became excited. Wonderful, we finally won't have to go hungry anymore. Now that everyone is here, let's get ready to eat. But in the very next second, the man's eyes suddenly changed. Then he opened an enormous mouth and swallowed the commoner in front of him in one bite. It turned out to be a special type level 4 monster, Elder Yulo. When the surrounding townspeople saw this, they turned to flee, but in the next second, countless tentacles pierced straight through their bodies. Physical type level 4 monster, 100-legged monster. Just as those on the outer edge were trying to run for their lives, a gigantic fist came smashing straight down. It blew that person's head clean off on the spot. Transformation type level 4 monster, club monster. Hong Guangyu simply could not believe what he was seeing. Am I dreaming? The scene before his eyes was no different from hell on earth. When he finally came to his senses, his first reaction was to turn back and tell his wife to run. But in the next second, he himself was blasted away by a monster's punch. Collapsed on the ground, Hong Guangyu could no longer move at all. He could only watch helplessly as the monster walked step by step toward his wife. You damned monster. Don't touch her. I don't care who it is. Please, save me. I'll pay any price. Just as he was at his most desperate, that egg actually spoke. Anything, really? A mouth slowly split open on the egg. "Give me your body, and I will give you power." Immediately afterward, a monster engulfed in flames crawled out of that mouth. "I am a Miyakji-sao. Because I devoured the king of hell, I am now being hunted. Until I recover my strength, I need to hide inside a body first." As Miyakji-sao drilled into Hong Guangyu's mouth, a terrifying power instantly erupted from within him. "So there's still one alive here. Big brothers, let me have this one all to myself." Thanks to the boss, they were able to eat their fill this time. At that moment, Hong Guangyu violently broke free from the monster's restraint, and that single movement actually tore off the monster's arm. Just as Hong Guangyu desperately rushed toward his wife, a tentacle pinned him firmly to the ground. A mere human could never tear off third brother's arm. "So what exactly are you?" And at this moment, Hong Guangyu's eyes were filled with nothing but rage. "Second brother, hold him down. I'm going to crush his head myself." Club Monster's exclusive demonic art, 100 clubs. The enormous club came crashing down viciously onto Hong Guangyu. But in the very next second, Club Monster saw the most terrifying sight of his life. That indestructible club of his had actually cracked, accompanied by a sharp, piercing crack. Hong Guangyu actually crushed the entire club with his bare hands. How was this possible? In the instant Club Monster froze in shock, Hong Guangyu opened his mouth and swallowed him whole. The 100-legged monster beside him had not even realized what had happened, before Hong Guangyu devoured him bite after bite as well. Watching his two brothers die in the blink of an eye, Elder Yulo was so frightened he could barely speak. "What are you exactly? You're actually eating monsters. No matter who you were before, today I will avenge my brothers." Exclusive demonic art, Dragon Mouth Flame. Blazing flames instantly engulfed Hong Guangyu's entire body. "This time you have to be dead, you monster." But in the next second, a gigantic mallet had already appeared in front of him, the mallet already smashing toward his face. Isn't that third brother's exclusive demonic art? Could it be third brother isn't dead? No, then how can you? But right at that moment, dozens of tentacles suddenly grew from the mallet. This was actually the 100-legged monster's power as well. Amid boundless shock and terror, Elder Yulo's body was torn to pieces alive by those tentacles. The legendary Miyakji saw that could even swallow the king of hell. Seeing this horrifying scene, the wife beside them was utterly terrified. And Hong Guangyu also quickly regained his senses. He immediately rushed to his wife and frantically asked whether she was hurt. But his wife had long since been too terrified by the sight of him swallowing monsters alive to say a word. And just as Hong Guangyu knelt there, weeping soundlessly, a voice suddenly rang out from within his body. "I'm so hungry. Hurry up and eat her. She smells like a monster." In the next second, Hong Guangyu's body uncontrollably opened its mouth. But he forcibly suppressed the bite through his own will. Because the person standing in front of him was his wife, how could she possibly be a monster? "She smells delicious. She is a monster." And yet, at exactly that moment, his wife spoke first. "I hate this so much. It's all because of this famine. There are fewer and fewer edible humans left in this county. I originally wanted to have one big feast with the other brothers before moving to another county. But instead, I had to run into a monster like you. Special type level 3 monster, butterfly female ghost. I've seen monsters kill monsters before, but a monster like you that even eats other monsters is a first for me. Something like you should never exist in this world." Exclusive demonic art, butterfly wing burst powder. That terrifying strike blasted straight into the ground. But to everyone's surprise, even after taking that attack head-on, Hong Guangyu was completely unharmed, with only some of his clothes blown apart. Seeing this, the butterfly female ghost became utterly unwilling to accept it, and flapped her wings again to launch another attack. In the next second, dense explosions covered the entire area. Only at this moment did Hong Guangyu finally understand just how foolish he had been before. He had clearly seen those corpses every day that looked as though they had been mauled to death by a tiger, yet not a single person had ever actually seen a tiger. In this age of famine, even those lucky enough not to starve to death, had all grown as thin as dry bones. Only she had always maintained that most beautiful appearance in the world. A beauty so great that it did not even seem real. Realizing that her attacks still had no effect, the butterfly female ghost finally decided to stake all of her demonic energy on one final move. Above her head, a gigantic sphere of light condensed. Exclusive demonic art, Great Butterfly Wing Burst Sphere. Faced with the butterfly female ghost's strongest attack, Hong Guangyu could only tremble and weep. "I truly don't want to raise my hand against you, much less kill you with my own hands." But Miyakji-sa's instinct still forced him to raise his hand, to devour the monster before him. In the next second, both sides unleashed their attacks at the same time. But at the moment they collided, the butterfly female ghost's demonic art was completely swallowed. How could this be? Just as the butterfly female ghost froze in shock, her body was already completely engulfed by that even more terrifying power. Miyakji saw exclusive demonic art, 9 directions technique, As an extended application of 9 directions technique, it can swallow the opponent's demonic art and blast it back at them. As a gigantic sphere of light exploded in midair, the butterfly female ghost completely lost the ability to resist. When you discover that the wife who has lived by your side day and night is actually a man-eating monster, and she is kneeling in front of you, begging desperately for your forgiveness, would you forgive her, or eat her with your own hands? And the Miyakji saw inside Hong Guangyu continued urging him without pause, hurry up and eat her. Just as Hong Guangyu was still hesitating, the butterfly female ghost suddenly launched a sneak attack. But Hong Guangyu steadily caught that strike by the arm. Can you tell me when exactly you took my wife's body? Can't you figure it out yourself? Was it the first time you gave me a gift? Or on the Dragon Boat Festival, when we visited the Lantern Fair together? Or perhaps on the night we were married? How foolish. In truth, I took over this body more than 50 years ago. Your wife never existed from the very beginning. Now, let me send you on your way, you fool. In the next second, Miyakji Sa directly seized control of Hong Guangyu's body and blasted the butterfly female ghost into pieces with a single strike. Just as Hong Guangyu cried out in agony for his wife, his mouth was forcibly sealed shut by Miyakji Sa. Then Miyakji Sa spoke coldly, "To avoid exposing myself, I will not completely take over your body. But if you do anything foolish, or if sufficiently delicious food appears, I will borrow your body. And most importantly, if you dare let me go hungry, I will devour your soul as well. I so wish that when my hair is white and my face is full of wrinkles, you will still treat me as well as you do now. Alright, I promise you, but my lady must promise me too, that when that time comes, she will still keep holding my hand and never let go. Of course, I will never let go." At this moment, the remaining part of his wife's body began to shatter bit by bit. Together with Hong Guangyu's love, which had already died, it turned into countless specks of dust and drifted into this utterly terrible world. If it were left hungry, it would even eat his soul as well? Hong Guangyu knew very well that such a thing must never happen, because he had already made up his mind to swallow every monster in this world into his stomach. Not a single one would escape. Seeing this unbearably sorrowful memory from Hong Guangyu, even Chianak Bodhisattva could not hold back, and tears fell from her eyes. And when she opened her eyes again, she found that she had already returned outside. Don't worry, everything is over. I have already eaten Hell Demon. This was everything she had personally experienced 300 years ago. And the current situation was almost exactly the same as it had been back then. Too many exorcists had died in Hell Demon's trap. If Hong Guangyu had not existed back then, this world would have long since become a true hell. Please give Chianak Hall 1 month. I will train Goyang until he can stand shoulder to shoulder with the Hong Guangyu of those days. Meanwhile, on the other side, the monster granny used the same method again to trick 2 men into the room. Thank you both so much. Without your help, these old bones of mine could never have carried all these packages. But what the monster granny was thinking was that her luck was really good today. She had actually hooked 2 humans with such abundant spiritual energy at once. In that case, Lord Hell Demon should be pleased. But Hell Demon looked at the 2 people in front of her and only felt speechless. Where exactly did you bring these things from? They aren't human at all. The next second, the monster granny was seized by the throat by one of them. No matter how she struggled, she could not break free at all. As expected of Lord Hell Demon, on behalf of the level 1 monsters, I have come specifically to meet you. You may call me Dracula. I heard that you intend to open the gates of hell. But not all monsters wish for the world to fall into chaos, especially level 1 monsters like us, who value order above all else. So I hope you will stop your plan to open the gates of hell. How ridiculous. This level 1, level 2 nonsense is nothing more than numbers casually slapped on by humans. Let them call us whatever they want, and yet you actually take that sort of thing seriously. How shameless. What? Are you afraid that once the gates of hell are truly opened, those top-class monsters will descend upon the human world again? When that happens, trash like you will go back to living like slaves, just like before. Someone like you would be called a coward by humans. Hell Demon's ridicule instantly ignited the anger of the 2 people in front of her. But the unluckiest one was actually the monster granny standing nearby. The bespectacled man immediately revealed his monster form and charged straight at Hell Demon with a punch. Seeing this, Throw Monster immediately stepped in front of Hell Demon. Their fists collided head-on. But even though Throw Monster had already used all its strength, its fist still twisted out of shape on the spot. Its entire arm was even blown clean off. On your side, you've got 2 level 3s and 1 level 1. In overall strength, that doesn't even compare to 1 level 1 and 1 level 2 on their side, so I advise you to surrender quickly. You people really do love the ranks humans assigned to you. If 2 pieces of trash are really that confident, then come at me. Seeing that Hell Demon was truly angered, the man opposite her instead became even more excited. It seems that today, the only option is to kill her. Goyang had a very, very long dream. And in the dream, Gaoyang arrived inside his own intestines. The old man living in Goyang's intestines was the previous generation's strongest vessel of Miak Jisa, Hong Guangyu. Only now, he had already shrunk to the size of a mouse. Don't be so surprised. This is perfectly normal. I have already begun to be digested. Before I am completely digested, there is something I want to ask of you. You should have already met Chianak, right? I hope you can help her. When you fight Hell Demon in the future, if possible, please protect her as well. Because of me, she cannot even die even if she wants to. She is a very pitiful person. Also, once Hell Demon is destroyed, you must immediately leave Chianak's side. But just as Goyang wanted to ask what exactly that meant, he had already awakened from the dream, and the first person he saw after opening his eyes was unexpectedly Jimin, the one who had previously touched his butt. After school today, come with me somewhere. There is something I absolutely have to confirm. And what she really wanted to confirm was what exactly that strange feeling in her heart was. Could it be that she had really fallen for this loser in front of her? But at that moment, Jiazhong directly interrupted. Sorry, Goyang is coming with me after school today. What I need is far more important than whatever you're thinking. And so, after school, Jiazhong fully explained to Goyang the plan to eliminate Hell Demon 1 month from now. In order to open the gates of Hell, Hell Demon would still continuously devouring humans. From this moment on, Goyang had to start with level 4 monsters and keep devouring stronger and stronger ones, until his power had grown enough to confront Hell Demon head-on. Monster ranks are divided from level 1 to level 7. The weakest, levels 5 to 7, have no exclusive demonic arts, only relatively strong physical power or some very simple demonic techniques, and are therefore collectively called miscellaneous monsters. As for the middle tier, levels 4 and 3, they begin to possess their own exclusive demonic arts. And different exclusive demonic arts may even allow them to unleash combat power beyond their rank. Because rank never equals actual combat strength, it is merely the danger level classified by humans. As for the strongest, levels 1 and 2, most of them are named monsters. For example, Dracula, the nine-tailed fox, werewolves, zombies, and mummies. These are all creatures whose infamous reputations once spread across the world. They would even actively use novels and films to spread their own names. They let people all over the world fear them, and then grow stronger by feeding on that fear. On the other side, the battle between the vampire Dracula and Hell Demon fully erupted. Originally, Hell Demon had been looking forward to facing Dracula head-on, but Dracula seemed to have stayed inside Miyake Jisaw's stomach for so long that even his brain no longer worked very well. Before using a demonic art, do you not even consider elemental restraint? With a demonic art as big and clumsy as yours, do you really think it can hit bats that are this small and fast? No matter how those giant beasts made of hair lunged and attacked, they could never strike the bat's vital points. In the next second, countless vampire bats rapidly gathered together, forming the outline of a giant bird under the moonlight. Now, let me show you my power. The next second, all the bats dived violently downward. With just one strike, they severed the hare beast's entire arm. Dracula's exclusive demonic art, Great Glutton Bat, creates 1,000 bat clones capable of devouring everything. But even in the face of this, Hell Demon did not waver in the slightest. As expected, those old native monsters of hell had long since become relics of the past. Over these past few centuries, vampires had continuously grown stronger by feeding on human fear. The current Hell Demon was simply no match for vampires. Over the years, exorcists had been trying to weaken human fear. Exorcists had been trying to change the image of monsters, constantly telling the public that monsters did not exist at all. And through the media, packaging those monsters as ridiculous and approachable figures, also that they would no longer be able to feed on the power of fear. But the problem was that fear had already been carved into the human heart. Level 1 and Level 2 monsters were terrifying beings that even the Exorcist Alliance did not dare challenge lightly. And their greatest enemy, Hell Demon, although also classified as Level 1, that ranking was probably not accurate at all. Because up to this day, the only person who had truly seen Hell Demon's complete demonic art was the first-generation Miyake Jisa, Hong Guangyu. At this moment, Dracula, who had the complete upper hand, looked at Hell Demon and let out a cold, mocking sneer. Lord Hell Demon, is that really the only demonic art you know? What are you talking about? I haven't even used my real demonic art yet. That thing just now was merely a monster form I imitated with my hair, only to trick you into obediently eating my hair. And my real demonic art is now right behind you. Hearing that, Dracula whipped his head around, only to see a familiar figure already standing there in silence. And that figure was a duplicate Dracula, reformed from the countless bats just now. Surprised? My hair was originally a rope of summoning and contract. As long as I blow my hair toward a human, I can plant a monster from hell inside their body. I can also feed my hair directly to a monster and turn that monster into a slave ghost. You're saying that thing is a slave ghost? But my real body is clearly still here. Are you sure? Are you really still the original now that you're alone? Or is the slave ghost I made out of 999 of the 1000 bats the true original? Hearing that, Dracula instantly panicked. I am the real Dracula. But in the next second, he was grabbed by the slave Dracula. Lord Hell Demon, why even ask when you already know? Of course I am the true original, not this useless bat. The next second, Dracula's last remaining thread of consciousness was completely absorbed by the slave Dracula. And when the werewolf below saw this, he was utterly dumbfounded. There was actually a demonic art in this world that could turn even a level 1 monster into a slave. Such a thing was simply unheard of. Still, the method of breaking any demonic art is actually always the same. Kill the caster directly. Although Hell Demon was also level 1, she belonged to the summoning type. If it was purely a matter of explosive instant power, the werewolf would never lose to her. Werewolf exclusive demonic art, Savage Claw. At the very moment that Claw Blade was about to strike Hell Demon, Hong Kong Ghost Granny exclusive demonic art, Granny Knitting. She turned her demonic energy into needles and thread, weaving it into any shape she wanted, but even so, the strength of that thread shield was still not enough. In the blink of an eye, even Hong Kong Ghost Granny herself was cut in half along with it. A mere level 3 monster like you dared block my demonic art, then get sliced apart together with Hell Demon. But in the very next second, the sight before him made him freeze. Throw Monster had actually withstood that strike by relying on nothing but his physical body. And when he saw Granny die right in front of him, that indescribable sorrow instantly made his eyes grow wet. Looks like some other guy stood in front and split half the power for her. But that's fine. He could still use Savage Claw one more time. Yet in the next second, the werewolf's arm was seized by Throw Monster. Throw Monster exclusive demonic art, Summon Sacrifice Ring. The two of them were instantly dragged onto a wrestling ring. This was a place where one had to use the body itself as a sacrifice to fight. But the werewolf had no interest in hearing any explanation, and immediately threw a punch straight at Throw Monster's face. Yet that punch had absolutely no effect. I forgot to tell you, before the match officially begins, all attacks are invalid. And until a winner is decided, neither of us is leaving this ring. Your exclusive demonic art is really annoying. How can a mere level 3 monster use a demonic art to create a space like this? It seems you've stayed in the human world too long and forgotten what kind of place this really is. My demonic art doesn't create space. It summons both me and my enemy onto the sacrifice ring and designates this duel as wrestling. When he heard the word sacrifice ring, the werewolf froze on the spot. Could this place be? That's right, only now do you remember? This is our homeland. Hell, a place where the strong prey on the weak, where only the strong survive, and where all weakness is treated as original sin. Do you know Throw Monster's exclusive demonic art? Summon Sacrifice Ring drags both himself and his enemy into the Hell Arena. Then he offers his own body as a sacrifice and fights the opponent to the death. He can also designate the event as wrestling. As long as the opponent does not accept the challenge, the match will never begin, and at the same time neither side can leave the ring. And this time, the rule is that if your body touches the ground or you fall out of the ring, you lose. The final verdict will be personally decided by the Vajra Guardian standing beside them. When the werewolf saw the enormous, absurdly huge Vajra Guardian beside them, he was completely stunned. It seemed that all of this was real. Throw Monster continued speaking. I will use my own head as the sacrifice and bet it all on this match. Hearing that, the werewolf burst out laughing. A mere level 3 monster actually dared to be this arrogant. Since you're looking for death yourself, then I'll bet my own head too. After saying that, he charged straight at Throw Monster. No matter what kind of place this is, I'll still slam you flat. But no matter how much strength the werewolf used, Throw Monster did not retreat even one step and stood rooted firmly in place. It seems the demonic energy you've easily accumulated over all these years in the human world is completely useless here. Because the sacrifice ring was, to begin with, a place that measured only physical strength. Even if I can't use demonic energy, there's no way I could lose to trash like you. But the werewolf, who had assumed he could easily lift the other up, was horrified in the next second to discover that no matter how much force he used, he could not budge him at all. How is this possible? He's clearly just a level 3 monster. Throw Monster spoke coldly. When was the last time you truly fought with your life on the line? Your movements are too dull. That means that over these past few hundred years, you've done nothing but pile up demonic energy without ever truly fighting for your life again. And even the werewolf himself had already forgotten that ever since he rose to level 2, he no longer had to fight for his life every single time the way he did in Hell. Because all he had to do was keep feeding on human fear, and that was enough. Although compared to when he was still in Hell, he had indeed become much stronger now. He had never once thought of using that power to challenge stronger opponents. Just like humans become obsessed with money and power, he too had only hoarded demonic energy blindly, forgetting why he had wanted to become strong in the first place. So you've finally remembered? But trying to make up for those hundreds of lost years now is already too late. Wrestling technique, neck clamp slam. In the next second, a clean, decisive throw smashed the werewolf hard onto the ground. The winner of this duel is Throw Monster. According to the wager, the loser's sacrifice will now be taken. In the next second, the werewolf's head was directly taken by the Vidra Guardian. And according to Hell's law of survival of the fittest, the victor may inherit all of the loser's demonic energy. After absorbing all of the werewolf's demonic energy, Throw Monster officially rose to level 2 as well. The scene shifts, and everyone had already returned to the warehouse. Watching Monster Granny slowly dissipate in front of him, Throw Monster could not help asking, Lord Hell Demon, where do monsters go after they die? When monsters die, they return to hell and are reborn as monsters again, unless they were eaten by Miyok-Ji-Saw. In that case, they are completely digested inside Miyok-Ji-Saw's intestines. Then after the gates of hell open, will we be able to meet again? No. After reincarnation, all memories of the previous life disappear, and they become a completely different monster. Even if you meet again, you will never recognize each other. Why can't I get Granny's face out of my head? Why does my chest feel so heavy? And why does this body keep feeling miserable on its own? It's probably just that this human body still retains some of the host's old memories. These are merely side effects from borrowing a human body, not memories or feelings that truly belong to you. Those words also made Hell Demon remember the memories from when she possessed this body. Are you trying to take my body away? You can. I'll give it to you, but I have one condition. Let all humans see with their own eyes what hell is truly like. Make them regret it, regret everything they ever did to me. Please avenge me. My name is Shim Chong. The scene moves to a corner of a park. A woman was lying alone on a bench resting. Unexpectedly, a passing man happened to spot her. Did you run away from home? I also have a daughter around your age at home. So I got a little worried and wanted to ask. How about I take you somewhere you can rest? It has to be better than sleeping out here. Although the woman did not want to trouble anyone, she was simply too hungry right now. Could Mister buy me a meal? I haven't eaten anything for days. Of course, I'll treat you to a good meal, and then help you find a place to rest. But just then, a voice suddenly rang out. We finally found you. Goyang, hurry up and eat it. That thing is called General Turtle. He specializes in luring humans into the water and then eating them. In the past, he and Rabbit General ate many people, and the so-called tortoise and hare race was actually about them. In order to stop them from continuing to devour human souls, the exorcists rewrote that story into a fairy tale. In fact, those two monsters fought a territorial battle back then in order to seize more humans as food. That whole conversation left the man utterly confused. What exactly were these two students talking about? But in the next second, a giant mouth directly bit off his head. You exorcists, right? Good timing. Eating just one person really isn't enough to fill me up. Physical type level 3 monster, General Turtle. Be careful. His real weapons are those two legs, and they are faster than any monster you faced before. Goyang threw a punch immediately, directly piercing through General Turtle's chest. There was no helping it. There was now less than a month left before Goyang's real battle with Hell Demon. What he needed now was stronger monsters. But no one expected that even with his chest pierced through, General Turtle could still speak. You bastard, what exactly are you? Me? I am the natural enemy of monsters like you. The future Miyok-Ji-Saw who will devour every last monster. But unexpectedly, after taking Goyang's full-force punch head-on, General Turtle looked almost unaffected, and in the next second dropped from above and drove a heavy kick straight into Goyang's back. So you're Miyok-Ji-Saw, perfect timing. As long as I swallow your jewel, I can evolve into a level 1 monster. General Turtle exclusive demonic art, Flying Turtle Frenzy. In the next second, more than a dozen gigantic phantom legs kicked at Goyang from all directions at once. But what no one expected was that one of General Turtle's arms suddenly disappeared. He simply could not believe that not only had his attack completely failed, it had not even seen when its arm was severed. This guy, could he also be a monster? If Goyang was going to devour even stronger monsters in the future, he first had to strengthen 9 Directions technique even further. That meant the second stage of 9 Directions technique, 9 Directions body. 9 Directions technique is a demonic art that compresses demonic energy and then releases it from any opening in the body. 9 Directions body, meanwhile, is a demonic art that fully releases demonic energy through the pores covering the entire body. The first step was for Goyang to close his eyes. He had to feel Miyok-Ji-Saw's jewel inside his body, along with the demonic energy flowing through him. Then he had to guide that demonic energy, bit by bit, out through his pores along his blood vessels. At this moment, Goyang only felt as if his whole body were wrapped in a warm current of air. Your talent really is high. Once you completely master it, your body will become a truly invulnerable suit of armor. In the next second, a gunshot rang out, and a bullet struck Goyang directly in the chest. Goyoung simply could not believe that Jachong had actually fired a gun at him. As one shot after another rang out, Goyoung collapsed into a pool of blood. I know you're in pain right now, but these wounds won't kill you yet. If I want you to grow as quickly as possible, this is the fastest method I can think of. So learn 9 directions body quickly, or this pain will not end. That goes for you and for all humanity alike. Faced with Goyoung's attack, General Turtle leaped high into the air. Then he voluntarily removed one of his own legs. General Turtle's exclusive demonic art, Ghost Turtle Game. It enlarges one of General Turtle's hands or feet and summons it anywhere. A summoned hand or foot takes 1 day to grow back. In the very next moment, General Turtle sacrificed all of its remaining arms and legs as well. Immediately after, an incomparably horrifying scene appeared in midair. Those enlarged hands and feet rained down toward the ground like a storm. But when the smoke cleared, Goyoung was still standing there completely unharmed. That was because during that special training, Goyoung had used only 3 short days to completely master this physical body. Even artillery could no longer harm him in the slightest. In the next second, Goyoung pushed off with both legs and shot violently up toward General Turtle in the air. Seeing this, General Turtle turned and ran in terror. But trying to run now was already too late. After smashing his body apart with one punch, Goyoung opened his mouth and swallowed his head whole. The scene shifted. Cheonok Bodhisattva, though a human who had lived for 300 years, had never once stepped outside Cheonok Hall, because she carried a secret in her heart powerful enough to shake everything. And by chance, that very secret was discovered by Sister Susan. Do you know what I found? Beneath Cheonok Hall, there was a mysterious hidden space, and inside it was a barrier almost as large as the entire hall itself. Inside it was also a barrier nearly as large as all of Cheonok Hall. Only after carefully investigating did Susan learn that this barrier was actually a cage used to imprison a human. The moment she saw that barrier, she immediately remembered a story her master had once told her. Long ago, an exorcist betrayed humanity and instead helped monsters and demons, and in the end was sealed inside a barrier and punished for eternity. Cheonok Bodhisattva, are you really training Miyok Ji-sa only to deal with Hell Demon? Or do you actually have another purpose? The spiritual energy in your body right now is filled with intense hostility. That is the exact opposite of the divine path Sister Susan believes in. Are you really going to go this far? Don't forget, you too are inside the barrier now. At the very instant those words fell, astonishing spiritual energy suddenly erupted from Cheonok Bodhisattva's body. That overwhelming pressure instantly crushed down toward Sister Susan. She had miscalculated. She had originally thought that since they were both level 1 exorcists, even if they really fought, at the very least she would not lose too badly. But what exactly was this scene before her? Could such terrifyingly vast spiritual energy really be released by a human? Susan had no more time to hesitate. If she did not act now, she truly would not have any chance left. Divine art, bullet of love and grace. But in the next second, there was no one in front of her. In only an instant, Cheonok Bodhisattva had silently appeared behind Susan with an icy aura. At that moment, Susan's fear surged to its absolute limit. She had no idea how Cheonok Bodhisattva had moved behind her, but she already understood that she did not have even the slightest chance of winning. Never before had she so clearly felt death this close. Sister Susan, you don't need to be so nervous. I know you must be wondering whether I am plotting something. That barrier you saw underground really is there to imprison me. That's true. Just as you have heard, I once committed the crime of betraying humanity, and that is why I received such punishment. This matter goes back 300 years. While a woodcutter was chopping firewood in the mountains, a talking red deer suddenly walked up to him. Don't be afraid. I have been watching you for a long time. You are a very kind woodcutter. Even now, you still have not started a family because you have been taking care of others. So I want to introduce you to a bride who suits you very well. The bride you're talking about wouldn't be a doe, would it? I don't need that. Of course not. I'm talking about a celestial maiden. In the next second, the woodcutter's mind was completely bewitched. At the top of that mountain, there is a lotus pond. On the night when the full moon rises, the celestial maidens will go there to bathe. When they take off their feather robes, you must seize the chance to steal the clothes. That way, in order to get her feather robe back, the celestial maiden will obey you completely. You will be able to bring her home and make her your wife. Then she will give birth to a child of a mortal and a celestial maiden. After that child is born, hand the child over to me as your repayment. At this moment, the woodcutter had already been completely controlled by the monster before him. But just then, a figure suddenly appeared. I finally found you. So you're the one forcing celestial maidens to mate with humans and bear mixed blood children, and then eating those children, right? That's right. It's all because the mixed blood children born between immortals and humans taste far too delicious. I've already eaten more than 10 such children. Young exorcist, it seems you've chosen the wrong opponent. Dear Lord exclusive demonic art, antler cannon. That terrifying attack blasted straight toward Cheonok. But unexpectedly, the shot was blocked head-on by the talisman paper in Cheonok's hand. In the next second, she clenched the fist wrapped in talisman paper. Then she slammed a heavy punch into Dear Lord. Compared with Hell Demon, you're not even worth mentioning. After saying that, she slapped an explosive talisman directly onto the monster's forehead. In the next second, the talisman paper exploded violently on its head. Cheonok knew very well that this level of power was still not enough to kill the monster before her. So she immediately took out the even stronger Great Explosion talisman. But at that critical moment, the bewitched woodcutter actually raised his axe and chopped at Cheonok. Cheonok barely dodged the blow. But that instant of distraction gave Dear Lord the opening to use its exclusive demonic art once more. In the next moment, the immensely powerful antler cannon fired again. But to everyone's surprise, this attack was forcibly blocked by a huge hand. The one who had come was actually Hong Guangyu, the vessel of Miak Ji-saw. Ever since Hell Demon had been swallowed into his stomach, Hong Guangyu had stayed by Cheonok's side. Because in his view, Cheonok always had far too hard a time every time she fought monsters. While helping her, he could also fill his stomach along the way. Can't you just go eat some other monsters? It's exactly because you're always helping me that my strength never improves. At this moment, Dear Lord at the side could not listen any longer. I don't care who you are. Anyone who dares ruin my plans can all go to hell. Shut up. Don't you know it's rude to interrupt when other people are talking? As soon as he said that, Hong Guangyu's mouth suddenly disappeared. At the same time, Dear Lord was swallowed in a single bite. Seriously, why did you eat it again? Sorry, but why do you have to become stronger no matter what? I can just deal with the monsters for you. You could live like an ordinary person. Because I'm afraid that one day another monster as strong as Hell Demon will appear. If that happens and you're no longer here, humanity will only be able to fight with its own strength. But those words deeply wounded Hong Guangyu. I'm sorry. That's not what I meant. I wasn't saying you don't count as human. It's okay. You're right. But actually, you should feel relieved, because after becoming a monster, my lifespan will almost never end. I will keep protecting humanity, because that is the reason I remain in this world. But then one day, Cheonok's master called her over. He had somehow learned about the relationship between Cheonok and Hong Guangyu, and so he decided to use her to kill Miak Ji-saw. Master, Hong Guangyu is clearly a benefactor who saved humanity from Hell Demon, so why must he be killed? Because Miak Ji-saw has not expelled Hell Demon's human host, which means that inside that creature's stomach right now, there is still undigested Hell Demon left. And more dangerous than Hell Demon is Miak Ji-saw itself. If one day that creature truly begins to hate humanity, it will become a disaster even more terrifying than Hell Demon. Cheonok, have you forgotten the first rule of exorcists? No matter who or what it is, if it poses a threat to humanity, it must be eliminated. But Hong Guangyu is the strongest monster. No exorcist can defeat him, so there must still be some other way. That, you don't need to worry about. I have already thought of a way to kill that creature. This is the scarecrow monster I made with my own hands. Inside it is hidden a deadly poison capable of killing Miak Ji-saw. And what you need to do is make Miak Ji-saw swallow it. It was a manufactured scarecrow monster. To be exact, it was a creature stitched together from human flesh, neither human nor monster. Precisely because of that, even if Miak Ji-saw swallowed it, it would not be digested immediately. Moreover, it could also make lifeless grass bloom inside Miak Ji-saw. Lifeless grass is a very common herb in the human world. But in hell, it is a deadly poison that not even ghosts can be saved from. Because the true toxicity of lifeless grass comes from its flower, and that kind of flower only blooms in hell. And according to the research they had done on Miak Ji-saw over the years, the environment inside Miak Ji-saw's stomach is extremely similar to hell, most likely because it has swallowed too many monsters. In other words, as long as lifeless grass was planted inside the scarecrow monster and then Miak Ji-saw swallowed it, the poison could slowly destroy it from inside its body. Of course, that alone would still not be enough to kill it completely. But it would at least force it to keep consuming demonic energy to repair its body, and in that case it would no longer be able to use other demonic arts. Although Cheonok opposed it desperately, her master still pushed forward with the plan no matter what. Someday, Miak Ji-saw would completely lose faith in humanity because of that so-called sense of justice. Cheonok, you must understand this. Humans have never been truly kind creatures. Sooner or later, Miak Ji-saw will come to hate humanity, and in the end, it will devour humans too. The scene shifts to a bustling marketplace. Cheonok asked Hong Guangyu to meet her there. Well, this really is the sun rising in the west. I can't believe you actually asked me out on your own. But even though Cheonok was the one who had invited him, she remained distracted and uneasy from beginning to end. Because she knew that very soon, right here, she was going to release that scarecrow monster. Don't worry, this thing is just a scarecrow. It will obey my orders completely. It absolutely will not eat people. Why have you been so absent-minded all day today? Did something upsetting happen? Oh right, I have something here that might cheer you up. This is my gift to you. Go on and take it. You're at the best age of your life right now. Don't spend all your time chasing after monsters. You should dress yourself up nicely too. I'm giving you this gift because I truly am grateful to you. After all, the only person who calls me Hong Guangyu directly is you, Jimin. Thank you for being willing to treat me as a human. But after hearing those words, Chianak felt even less able to reach out and accept it. I don't deserve to accept this gift. Please take it back. But just as Hong Guangyu was about to ask her what exactly she meant by that, a scream suddenly interrupted them. All across the marketplace, people instantly fell into panic. Run! A monster is here. In the next second, a humanoid monster suddenly appeared, and it began slaughtering everyone around it indiscriminately. Even when several soldiers rushed up to resist, they were all killed in an instant. And that thing was the Scarecrow monster. Chianak could not believe it at all. Her master had clearly said this thing would not attack humans. So why had it turned out like this? And the Scarecrow's actions completely ignited Hong Guangyu's fury. You dare kill people right in front of me? I'll swallow you alive. The moment Miak Jisoo appeared, the Scarecrow immediately remembered what its creator had once told it. The reason you exist is to kill Miak Jisoo. To accomplish that, you must make Miak Jisoo believe you are a monster and make it swallow you. As long as you can plant lifeless grass inside Miak Jisoo, you may use any means necessary. But judging only from the strength of that thing's attack just now, at most it was only a level 3 monster. So why did it dare attack humans this openly? If that's how it is, then I'll put you out of your misery. But just as Hong Guangyu was about to swallow it, he suddenly sensed an extremely strange sense of wrongness. An instinctive disgust forced him to kick the thing flying away. What exactly is this thing? It feels completely different from other monsters. Its smell is neither human nor monster. You have to understand, Miak Jisoo is extremely suspicious. So if he doesn't eat you immediately, you are to execute the second plan at once. Just then, Chianak walked toward Hong Guangyu. It was as if she had finally made an incredibly difficult decision. Hong Guangyu, you can't eat that monster. It was created specifically to kill you. But before she could finish that sentence, countless branches had already pierced straight through her body. This was the real plan to kill Miak Jisoo, to personally kill the person most important to him right in front of him, and drive Hong Guangyu completely insane. But even in the final moments of her life, Chianak still used all her strength to say those words, "That thing has poison inside." Accompanied by the Scarecrow's laughter, its body was blasted into pieces on the spot by Hong Guangyu's demonic energy. That terrifying power was so great that even the distant mountainside was blown apart as well. And at this moment, Chianak had already suffered fatal injuries. If this continued, she probably would not last even one more Shurchin. But even so, the only thing Jimin kept repeating was, "I'm sorry." To save Chianak, Hong Guangyu was ultimately left with only one choice, to swallow her into his stomach the same way he swallowed monsters. Then, after purifying her through his intestines, expel her intact. Meanwhile, everything on the other side was also proceeding according to plan. As expected, Miak Jisoo swallowed Jimin, who had the seeds of lifeless grass hidden inside her body. Next, I, John Uchi, will kill it with my own hands. And at this moment, inside Hong Guangyu's stomach, Chianak once again arrived in that space that looked like a galaxy. And the injuries on her body also began healing rapidly at a speed visible to the naked eye. But just when Jimin thought she had been saved, sprouts actually began emerging from those wounds that had originally healed. This is lifeless grass? How could something like this be inside my body? However, as the lifeless grass grew wildly, the lifeless flower soon fully bloomed inside Miak Jisoo. At the same time, Hong Guangyu immediately felt as if he had been fatally poisoned, and he collapsed to the ground in agony, violently vomiting large amounts of black blood. Miak Jisoo is extremely suspicious. He will definitely notice that you are different from ordinary monsters. So from the very beginning, you were only bait. What they really wanted Miak Jisoo to swallow was Chianak. What I needed you to do was severely wound Chianak, and then plant the seeds of lifeless grass inside her body. After that, Miak Jisoo would definitely swallow Chianak into his stomach, because he had to save the woman he loved.